No black hats, just straight facts.
Triple P certified.
Listen, we can talk about odds all day. It doesn't matter what the odds are. It matters what's gonna happen.
I'll say it again. It doesn't matter what the odds are. It matters what's going to happen, everybody. Welcome to the Perfect Parlay Pursuit. 1,000 strong and growing and counting. We got a Discord full of bad boys chatting up every Saturday. We got a Patreon full of bad men, generals in the Triple P Army. And if you join this month, guys, all the money goes to Danny the Batman, who just got married. Lieutenant Dan. And we are doing a special promotion this month. The month of July, if you join the Patreon, all that money goes to Dan, meaning if you sign up for the full year, you will keep me and Alex's grubby little paws off all your hard-earned money, and you will give it directly to Dan as a wedding present. Get in there for the full year. You get a 16% discount, and you get to give Dan a very nice wedding present to start his life with. Lord knows he needs it. Dan, Alex, I think I did all the housekeeping. We're going to start doing a little bit more housekeeping at the top of the show in the first 2 minutes. But how are you two?
Terrific. Better than ever. Well, I guess I could be a little better, but the fights didn't treat me too kindly this past weekend. But looking forward to a decent card and then a very good card that we're going to break down tonight. The BMF title is on the line. Dan, how about yourself?
Well, I'm doing tremendous.
Sorry, Dan, let me interrupt real quick. I mentioned Dan's wedding. Alex was the only one of the three of us that actually got to watch the fights because Dan and I were both groomsmen in yet another wedding back to back. Me and Dan were really unable to watch much of the Holm versus Bueno Silva fight. And that said, we both had a pretty good gambling night. I'm looking at the results. 11 out of 13, if you count Jack Della Maddalena's, we added him later after we did the episode. But 11
you don't count that. We never have, and we won't.
That's because you probably picked the other guy. And
I did.
But Alex says, why he really is the one who needs it the most. He went 7 out of 12. Or if we give him Jack Della, 8 out of 13. But let's not confuse everybody. So let me just read the results I have here. Dan, 10 out of 13 correct picks. Luke, 11 out of 13 correct picks. I'm now in the lead, 65 out of 107 correct picks given in year 4. Alex.
You don't add that to your total. That was a last-minute replacement after we had broken down the fight. We've already been over this numerous times, and you only do it when it's in your favor.
Okay, this is bad radio, though. If you have a beef, talk with me after the show about it, because people who are new to the show and coming in the first 3 minutes, they're not even going to know what you're talking about. So we obviously keep track of our picks, guys, every single year. This is year 4. Our season goes from May to May. Welcome to the Perfect Play Pursuit. And Alex came in last place last weekend, and he's in last place for the year, just like he finished year 3 in dead last place. Alex is Mr. Bronze Medal on the show for the last long time, which is sad. But what's 8 out of 13, still not that bad of a night. Or I guess we could call it 7 out of 12 if you don't want to take the gift I'm giving you with Jack Della Maddalena, probably because you picked your homeboy. We'll get into that fight in a little bit. Guys, we got to break down and recap Silva versus Holm. Alex is going to take you through most of them because, like I said, Dan and I didn't really watch many of those fights being at a wedding and all. But I did give you 10 out of 12 correct picks on the show. The only 2 I got incorrect were Albert Duraev and Austin Lingo. 2 picks that really hurt the most because everybody knows I'm a big Iron Turtle fan, and everybody knows that Austin Lingo didn't deserve to be Triple P certified. The only Triple P certified pick who lost was Austin Lingo. We had 6 out of 7, or I guess I should say 5 out of 6 Triple P certified picks that were correct. I'm now leading the pack in first place, year 4, 65 correct picks out of 107 given. Dan is in second place, 62 out of 107. And Alex is in third, dead last by a mile, 58 out of 107 given. Almost under 50% entirely, Alex. You have to really step it up. And I think I know why. There's a couple picks on this card, Carl Dean, Ashley Evans Smith, that I really can't forgive you for. I'll forgive you for Chandler. She looked like a big bully at the weigh-ins, getting in Dumont's face like that. But then she really got the fate, the just desserts that all bullies receive. Once you punch a bully in the mouth, they turn and run, don't they? They tuck tail and they run. I think she should.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure those are my only losses. I don't know where you're getting this record.
Ashley Evans Smith, Deaton, Lingo, Chandler, and Holm. That's who you got wrong.
Oh, I did get Holm wrong. I stopped watching during the Holm fight.
Anyway, Dan, I believe we were asking you how you doing.
That's a roundabout way to get there. I appreciate any Patreon subscribers in my name, and if that's not good enough for you, at least you can keep it away from Luke's hands. That's motivation right there. That's all I got to say about that. Thank you for anyone who subscribes to the Patreon. It's a great help to us, and it's a good time. It's a good product for all of you as well. There you go. Sign up right there. Patreon.com/Perfect Parlay Pursuit. As far as the personal life, as Lukey knows, we had a great time at the wedding. So much of a good time. We weren't even able to watch the fights, which, as you know, is priority number one. But sometimes it's number two when it comes to some of your best friends and their wedding day. So eager to move on to this coming weekend's card, which will be UFC Fight Night London. A lot of good fights on that. Most importantly, though, UFC 291. After that, next weekend is going to be amazing on the main channel, correct? Main YouTube channel. Next week's card, 291.
We're breaking down UFC 291, Poirier versus Gaethje. We got Blachowicz versus Pereira.
Awesome.
We're going to be breaking it down for you for free, main card and prelims. That's right. If you've been going a while and you think we're still dividing up main card and prelims, now we do it a little bit different. So we give you main card and prelims 2 weeks early. Then we come in on the Patreon and give you our addendum picks or upgraded picks or updated picks in case any fights have dropped off or we've changed our mind at all. We basically go through every card twice now with a fine-tooth comb on the Patreon for a second time and for the first time here for free for you right here in the YouTube home headquarters, flagship store. So what should we do, guys? I mean, Alex, you're the only one who watched the fights. I just want to touch real quick on a couple of moments I did see Chelsea Chandler turn around the rug. That was hysterical. And to me, the biggest travesty in that is that she's one of the, there's not a lot of people who come in to the UFC with that Nate Diaz seal of approval, meaning they come out of the NBA Academy or Nate got you in, homeboy, what's his name? Nick Maximoff, yeah. Yeah, right. So when you get that seal of approval, you have to conduct yourself in a certain way. And I think a lot of these people, another perfect example would be guy in Bellator. What's his name with the hair? AJ Agazarm.
Okay, yeah.
AJ Agazarm, right? So they get half the Diaz equation correct, meaning they do the mean mug, get in your face, they stand their ground, but then they mess up this other side of it and end up completely doing the opposite. You know what I mean?
That's the more important side of things.
There's a more important side of things. And the more, all that stuff Diaz does at the weigh-ins and with the middle finger and stuff, there are plenty of other fighters who do that, guys. You just never heard their names because they don't fight like Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz fight. You know what I mean? It's a two-part equation.
I could do that part. You
gotta be willing to get in there and go 5 rounds, go hard, throw 50 strikes in a round if you're Nick Diaz. People my point is AJ Agazarm, half the equation, right? With the mean mugging. Doesn't have the other half. Chelsea Chandler, half the equation. But what she did that the Diaz brothers don't do is she went up and tried to get up after Dumont. What the Diaz brothers will do is they will stand their ground, okay? But they're not bullies. They don't go and try to seek out and attack at the weigh-in stage necessarily. They stand their ground and will attack and attack. They're karma fighters. Nick Diaz is a karma fighter first and foremost. Okay, look it up. So,
well, if you heard anything Norma Dumont said, she said that Chelsea Chandler did the same thing at the weigh-in. She ran straight away from her like a coward, and she said any of these gringas who think they're going to come out here and beat up these Brazilian women, you better think twice.
Wow. Well, I think that as Dumont was trying to pass, she on the stage, Chandler was kind of still engaged in getting in her grill a little bit. Is what I'm trying to say. And I feel that right there was already pushing it. And it's then it's I knew Norm was going to be let's go right here then. And Chelsea Chandler did kind of hide behind the coaching staff and everything that wasn't ready to go. Diaz would have been throwing water bottles if it escalated to that point. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying these people think they have the Diaz equation figured out. They don't quite have it. You know what I mean? Just when you think you understand the rules, Nate and Nick change the game on you. Okay. Anyway, let's get into it. Alex, you watched the card.
Yeah.
I'm excited about hearing about the downfall of Terrence McKinney because we troll be certified against him.
Luke, you'd be super surprised because that was exactly what I was going to bring up. And I think that the most important takeaway from this fight is that if Terrence McKinney gets another UFC fight, he is a live dog opportunity. And when you get another Nazim Sadiakov, very heavy favorite against a higher level opponent, be careful because Terrence McKinney backpacked him the entire first round and then ended up getting backpacked himself in the second round and getting submitted. I liked everything Terrence McKinney was doing. I was very nervous about Nazim going into the future. If he fights anybody of a higher caliber, he might be in trouble.
Well, what if he just was trying to kind of jiu-jitsu version of Homer Simpsoning him? Like he was letting Terrence, knowing he's only a one-round fighter. You've
I do that all the time to you, right? You say I go into turtle too much.
I'm just gonna let him think he is, and then reverse it, and then he'll be so demoralized. There's a good reverse factor of like not only like because if they think they got you, but like they don't got me, and you just let them, you stall it out, wait, and then you can not only escape but reverse and get that same position on them. Now in their head, they're like, damn, I'm tired. I had them in check, couldn't checkmate, and now I'm in check, being checkmated, and I'm more tired. So I feel like that's a strategy.
I heard there was a fence grabbing as well. At least that's what McKinney's been posting about on the old gram.
I believe there was a fence grab. There was a lot of tomfoolery going around in this card, Dan. You would be surprised about all of the tomfoolery that was happening. There was a lot
Tell us.
There was a lot of missed opportunities for the refs to do certain things. But besides the point,
I heard that Azaitar versus Prado had an early stoppage.
Yes, it did. Now, here's the thing. I think this comes with a caveat. Azaitar versus Prado, if the ref stopped it earlier, it would have been fine. But the ref let it go on and go on and go on that Azaitar kind of regained his bearings, and then finally he pushes Prado off with his feet, and then the ref comes in and stops it, waves it off, and he's like, "Dude, this is the first bit of success I've gotten since he knocked me down." It was an exciting fight. It was a very exciting night of fights for a very sleepy card. Even the unanimous decisions were close, well-fought bouts, and I think a lot of fighter stock rose.
I heard it was Shrek the Third with that weird stoppage too.
What happened?
I heard it was old Shrek the Third, Chris Taglioni.
Yes, of course. Shrek the Turd, more like it. He's the worst ref in the game. He's shit.
If you hear there's a bad stoppage, maybe it's Herb Dean. If you hear it's a good stoppage, I don't know, maybe it's little old Jason Herzog, even though I don't really like him that much. But if you hear it's a weird stoppage, Chris Taglioni is not far behind. He's somewhere to be found.
Absolutely. And I think they could have stopped it 10, 15 seconds earlier, and nobody would have complained. Not a single person would have complained about it. But when he decided to finally stop it, it was like, so you decided to do it now? Like as soon as Ottman Atazar started doing well, and Ottman Atazar got up and was pissed. He was absolutely devastated. He was mad. And he was battered, beaten, looking like a horror flick. And I might be a sick pervert, but I wanted to just see him get beat more. I don't know if I'm just some sick, demented weirdo, but I wanted to see him get painted with blood because Prado was absolutely dapping him up.
Yeah, he was willing to. I mean, you don't want to see him, getting beaten up that bad against their will, but he was in there happy to fight on. And
it wasn't against his will. It got stopped against his will.
So tell me about, I know the broken arm. We all saw Estelia Nunes break her arm against Dudikova. I saw her give a little sincere Instagram post afterwards, and her translator was saying, like, look, I actually worked really fucking hard for this camp, and I was so ready to show you guys what I'm capable of and get a win, and it didn't work out. I think the UFC gives her another chance. I think they give her another chance because of the weirdness of it was a dislocation, and she kind of posted on it. It wasn't like it was an arm bar, right? Like, it was kind of like, even though it wasn't, they'll throw it into the realm of freak accident, even though we all know on this podcast, intelligent human beings, there's no such thing as a freak accident. Everything that happens in that cage was meant to happen and happened, and there's no such thing as luck or freak accidents in this world. So what I'm trying to say is I think they give her another fight. I think we bet on her next time. I think that she'll have all-time value, like you were saying about McKinney, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think we will see that all-time value on Nunes. But talk to me about I heard Evan Elder's fight was really good. I heard
the gun got absolutely destroyed in the first round of the fight.
By Tucker Lutz. Interesting.
Tucker Lutz was destroying him, and it was going to be a very close decision. Melzik the Gun gets on the mic. He says, honestly, I underestimated the hell out of this guy. I thought I was going to walk right through him. I thought this was going to be an easy fight. I had it scored for Tucker Lutz going into the final decision, but it is what it is. It wasn't as big of a robbery as I'll talk about that fight as the main event. We'll save that one for last. But you were asking about Evan Elder. Okay, Evan Elder cheated his way into winning this fight.
Well, I just want to say real quick,
I'll be the first to say
Tucker Lutz and Baeza. I hate when a fighter comes on and says that they underestimated a guy. I get it. You have to have confidence. You have to have big ego, and you got to be like thinking you're the best things in sliced bread. If you could even have the confidence to make the walk to get into the cage, I understand that. But there's also the Tito Ortiz method of prepare for the worst and the best will always happen. I mean, you gotta always. I like the guy who has a GSP mindset and is like, this is gonna be the hardest fight of my life, and it's fucking Dan Hardy, and he takes him down.
The hardest fight of Tito's life is gonna be outliving his kids. Okay, let's just be honest.
Yeah, that's the hardest fight he's gonna have. But Dan, just because he said he wanted to, he said he wanted to.
Oh, sorry.
It's one of the many Tito-isms. Anyway, shout out to Tito Ortiz. Welcome on the podcast. Love you, Tito. All right, Alex. So. What's the main? So you said
Evan Elder was on wobbly legs, as Joe Rogan used to say, Q Street. He was walking around, he didn't know where he was, and then he decides to poke Valdez in the face. Valdez can't really see. They need to get a translator.
How are you going to say he cheated if he didn't know where he was? It's one or the other.
No, he was just starting to regain his composure, but not necessarily quite. And then just a rough eye poke right to the eyeball. It saved his life. Valdez was close to finishing the fight. I didn't really care. I had Elder all along, but I wanted to see Valdez, the dog, get it done. I have a little bit of a soft spot for the dog. If I have somebody who's a big favorite for not really any reason in particular, I would rather the dog win because I'm not really taking this guy on a bunch of parlays. A lovable underdog. Everybody wants that. They wanted to see the Cubs win the World Series. They wanted to see the Red Sox win the World Series.
What about tanning goggles or swimmer's goggles?
Oh, I think if you got punched with one of those in your eye,
yeah,
it would suction cup your eyeball out of your head.
I actually have experience getting hit in the face with a tomato throwing that fastball like speed while wearing goggles, and it did give me an incredible black eye. And I think that the glasses being on my head actually added to the impact of
you had quite a shiner on you.
Yeah,
your performance must have been terrible that the audience throwing tomatoes at you.
No, it was actually at a Tomato Royale in Pennsylvania. And basically, the performance was so good that
landed the free home of the brave.
I was pretty much like, Dan, I was pretty much like on the battlefield of the Tomato Royale. I was like the champion that they needed. Gone. Like,
not the one they deserved, the one they needed.
I was like, they got me when they got me with that one. When they finally got me, that was like Kobe Bryant fouling out in the NBA Finals. You know what I mean? It was like they were like, thank God we got this guy out of the Tomato Royale. I was hitting people point blank range in the head.
Men, women, children, headshot.
They had to load up all their forces on you to get you out of there.
Luke was like Leon Edwards, headshot, dead, headshot, dead.
I like your Anakin Skywalker reference there. Let's go. So who was your main event then, Alex? Because obviously
before that, Osmont Maxim does not deserve our money anymore. He does not deserve our money. He was a pretty decent favor going into Tyson Nam. Split decision. Tyson Nam probably should have won that fight. I had disagreement with a lot of the split decisions on this card, with even some of the unanimous decisions. I thought Alex Munoz left a lot to be desired. Carl Deaton had a great fight. Yeah, sure. He got hit with a couple power shots, but Carl Deaton was out-voluming him the entire time, the entire fight. Yeah. He was putting on a clinic in some sense. Elaine Perez shaking that booty. I would be remiss if I didn't bring it up. If I didn't bring it up, she was shaking her booty fresh after winning. She did the whole thing, and then DC comes up with the translator. The Brazilian or the Portuguese translator who comes up, and she just starts backing it up, and DC's like, "Come on, man!
Like, married man, come on!"
Yes. He was like, "I'm a married man. I can't be having girls be twerking all around me." And that's a time I can't wait for DC to bring it up on the next drunk weigh-ins episode he does, where he's like,
DC and RC. That's another.
Yeah. RC's like, come on, man, why didn't you let her back it up on you?
They're definitely gonna bring it up. Now I really want to go watch that episode.
So that was all great. I thought Carl Deaton did great. I thought Tyson Nam did phenomenal. No pun intended. I think that he could have won that fight. I scored it for Tyson Nam, even though I had Maxim on parlays. But that was way too much of a price tag to have a split decision. Evan Elder, natural born cheater. Austin Lingo stinks. He absolutely stinks.
I heard he took a beating and kept on ticking.
He did keep on ticking, but instead of Safe Saeed in his corner, he had Uriah Hall, and he had a couple other guys from Fortis that are not very good. All right,
wait. Since you brought up Safe Saeed,
Megan Anderson was right.
My new daddy, Safe Saeed. Who I'm literally going to send them the adoption papers in the mail tomorrow, so that Safe Saeed can become my legal father. I'm going to move out there. Where do they train at, Alex?
Texas. Fort Worth.
Texas. We're going to Texas. All right. Let's go. We're going to Texas, guys. Basically, Safe Saeed. The reason he's now my daddy is because I saw an interview where he was talking about Ian Machado, and he was and Ian Machado was wearing a shirt that said Jeff Neal's mugshot.
And then the future, it had Jeff Neal's mugshot, and it said the future.
So Safe Saeed was like, "Oh, I don't need to say anything to Jeff. I'm just gonna put a big old picture of that right on the gym wall just to motivate him every single day." He's like, that kid just made the biggest mistake of his life doing that. And I was like, that's all I need is that picture. Jeff Neal with steam coming out of his ears, hitting a heavy bag in the shape of a twig.
And you saw that thing that you sent me, obviously. Where
saw that Ian Gary, as soon as I start calling him out, he starts saying he won't fight back in the rankings. Typical bitch shit.
Yeah. Joaquin, he's telling Joaquin Buckley how he won't fight anybody behind him, but
we
that
know
logic.
Who you're talking about, Ian. We know who you're talking about. Yeah, just say my name. We know what you mean when you say behind me in the rankings.
But by that logic, Ian Gary's logic, he will never get a fight again, because if every fighter took that logic where they're not going to fight anybody behind them and Ian's not going to fight anybody behind them, we're at a stalemate. This is when the chess masters shake each other's hand and say, "Good game, we're done."
Yeah, and
we're at a draw.
The thing is, he thinks it's because he's got a name, and he's like, that's why you should be calling me out, Buckley, because I have a name. It's like as if Buckley doesn't. He has the most viral knockout of all time.
Buckley was the one that said, "That's why you fight me," though.
Exactly.
No. I think you misunderstood. Buckley was like, "You fight me because I have a name."
Oh yeah,
I might be behind you in the rankings, but I have a name. I have the best knockout ever.
Yeah, but the thing is, the rankings are based on popularity. I don't know why people don't understand that. The rankings are not nothing more than a popularity contest. They're made by journalists. It's not like the journalists are using some algorithmic weighing system. You know what I mean?
And none of those pencil necks know how to fight. So what are they talking about?
That's what I'm saying. First of all, the rankings don't mean anything. It would behoove Ian Gary to fight Buckley. First of all, like we're talking about, it's a guy who's you got an incredible reach advantage over. He's a short guy, and then all of a sudden, he's the most famous guy, at that at that level of guys in that area. Either way, I consider Buckley. I didn't even know Buckley was behind Ian Gary in the rankings. I thought Buckley was way ahead of Ian Gary in the rankings. He has more UFC fights than him against better opponents, and he's won against better opponents. So where is this coming from? Ian Gary never fought Kevin Holland, Michelle Pereira. Wait, did he fight Michelle Pereira? No, who did Buckley fight?
No. He fought Abdul Razak Al Hassan.
Yeah. I was thinking some Judo Thunder, that flashy guy. Yeah. So
and didn't he fight
another killer too?
Chaos Williams too?
He beat Dariev's ass too, and he fought some really good.
Not Chaos Williams.
Chaos Williams fought Michelle Pereira. Either way, let's go.
Oh, okay.
All I'm saying is, love Buckley, love what he's doing, love Jeff Neal, love what you're doing, love Safe Saeed.
All right, but what I was alluding to with Safe Saeed is that Megan Anderson was right. Brandon Moreno, he comes into a camp, the head coach doesn't corner you anymore. He's sending Uriah Hall there. That's fine. Brandon Moreno might be a little bit of a diva. Megan Anderson broke that news. Megan Anderson is right. Laura Sanko and Brandon Moreno need more training than her. But Austin Lingo is now in the same boat as Megan Anderson. Right?
What does that mean? He's saying
Safe Sayud wasn't in his corner. He's from Fortis MMA. He had
Gotcha.
Uriah Hall. He had some other fighter at Fortis MMA. But besides that point.
Okay, makes sense.
Costa looked phenomenal, and apparently now he's at his true weight. The last fight he had wasn't at his true weight because I think he filled in short notice. He looked absolutely amazing. Anybody who is going to just stand up and be a punching bag like Austin Lingo was, he's going to shine against. He's very big for that weight class. Then my main event of the evening. Or, hold on. Park versus Duryev. Duryev, his stock rises. Park's stock rises. Both of their stocks rise on that fight. Duryev looked really good in the first round. Park finished him in the second. Beautiful.
That one hurts the most for me. I mean, I don't even like Duryev. I just was like, this line should be flipped. So I was like, Park should be the underdog here. And I never, I said at the beginning of the show, it doesn't matter what the line is, matter what's going to happen. I just thought something was telling me like this is where I bust with Park. Like picking him here when now word, because I've been getting him as an underdog, and it felt like my little best kept secret. And now it always feels like when the world finds out about the new band, the new movie, now all of a sudden it's not cool anymore. And I fell a little bit victim to that. I was like, you know what? Secret's out on the Iron Turtle here. Now people are loving him. He's a favorite here. This is where he's going to stumble a little bit. And Duryev just being Russian, I thought like hardier stock. If anybody was going to get knocked out, I would think he would not get knocked out. I just feel like Russians just go.
He got choked.
Oh, he got choked. Okay, because you said he got finished in a second. I thought he got knocked out.
Yeah, he got finished.
Jung Young Park is a boxer. Why is he out here wrestling and choking everybody? He is a boxer.
Because I think Duryev,
the Russian guy, got choked by the boxer from South Korea. This is crazy.
Duryev was having some success on the feet in the first round as well, and I think he was
with hard shots, and Park just kept coming. Yeah.
He is an Iron Turtle. He put the shell up. But the main event of the evening, in my opinion, all right, Holly Holm got choked out by a ninja choke. That stinks. Whatever. We move on. She's old. Whatever. Main event of the evening. Basil Hafez versus Jack Della Maddalena. I don't know how in your right mind you can score that fight for Jack Della Maddalena in any world. World. Huh?
Which round?
What do you mean? Any round. The Habibi definitely won the first round, and I think he won the third round as well. I think the second round, if you're going to give any round to Jack, it has to be the second round, and I think that the Habibi definitely won the first round.
Wow.
He definitely won the first round.
It was that decisive.
I think if you're going to give any round to Jack, it has to be the second. But the third round, although it was closer than the first round, Basil definitely won.
Well, listen, the thing is, 6 years ago, and MMA Guru did a good video about this, talking, because I didn't watch the fight, but he was talking about how Dominic Cruz and Daniel Cormier are misleading the public with their commentary because they have not really adapted their commentary to fit the new scoring criteria adopted 6 years ago, and which is a very interesting topic because somebody like me who grew up loving fighters like BJ Penn, who would go for finishes and kind of like make it very dynamic, whether it be on the ground or on the feet, and guys like Anderson Silva who'd go for finishes. And then you had guys like GSP who kind of had this lay and pray kind of style, like Greg Jackson camp. People had this kind of like lay and pray kind of style. It felt like for a little, like they were kind of outpointing, and Carlos Khan did against Nick Diaz. Like
someone recently brought this up to Joe Rogan and said, Matt Serra ruined all of MMA because after he knocked out GSP, he started laying and praying on everybody, and then everybody realized that was the best strategy.
And like, I guess what I'm saying is, and there were fights like Josh Koscheck, like Jake Shields, where GSP jabbed him up and didn't. But it seemed to me like GSP was always taking the path of, and he would admit this, by the way, that he and Faraz and John Danaher and everybody Greg Jackson would sit down, they'd figure out where their opponent was weakest, and that's where they would steer the fight, obviously, which is a very smart strategy. I'm not saying it's not, but when you're hoping to see, jiu-jitsu exchanges and between two, like Jake Shields and GSP, right? That would be cool to see, like these guys, fighting. And I don't know. I'm not saying, I'm getting off track. What I'm trying to say is that I grew up wanting to see a revised scoring system to include what I thought mattered more in a fight, which was doing damage and not holding on and stalling. Now we've got that, but it's not necessarily great because you have a situation where it's objective still in the eyes of the judges what's damage, right? So like,
well, no, Basil was still landing on the feet, and I want to give credit where credit's due. It was the action man, Chris Curtis, who said that, and it was on the Man Dance podcast with him and Sean Strickland. An amazing listen. Listen to it whenever you can. But Basil was landing on him. He was getting landed on sometimes, yes, and yes, his corner was more diligent about telling him to take the fight to the ground because he was having a lot of success there. But Jack Della kept going for guillotines, and that was how the fight mostly got to the ground.
Heard that too. Heard
Jack Della was taking the dust and the dime and Poirier methodology and was going for a lot of pulling guillotines, where a guy like Basil out of Balance Jiu-Jitsu, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, he's not falling for that crap. Not at all. Not at all. The animal is teaching him better than that.
I love it. And, it's good that he got in there short notice, got an opportunity, had a fight of the night performance, essentially, right? That was fight of the night?
Yeah, it was fight of the night. He got an extra $50K. He comes in 5 days notice. But, like, you got to think about that. The cardio couldn't have been as good as it usually is going into that fight. And he ends the fight on top. He ends the fight putting the pressure on Jack. Jack is hitting him with everything he has, but Basil doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's landing on Jack as well. They're both taking each other's best strikes. And the big key differentiator is Basil had the most time on top. And if you're going to give any round to Jack, yeah, you can give him the second. But the third and the first were definitely Basil. I was going into that decision saying, oh, yeah, we won. We broke even on the night. It's perfect. Let's go. And, I mean, nobody really agrees with that decision. Did you guys watch the fight?
So I was going to watch it before the show. I ended up getting wrapped up and couldn't get it viewed in time. But I'm going to watch it, definitely. Cause
you got to choose. It's either this podcast or taking care of your daggum daughter. Okay?
I know. You are definitely right. I mean, it's one or the other. Well, listen. Seems like it was a night of great fights. 2 weddings in a row, 2 weekends where I really didn't get to wet my beak enough with the UFC. I'm surviving off Dricus du Plessis knocking out Robert Whittaker. That's basically where I'm still surviving off that. But I need new highs. I need new sights to see. I need new wins, new victories, new battles to be fought, guys. This is an endless war, and I've never felt more like it is my destiny to be the greatest sports bettor on UFC of all time. I had to remind myself that up until 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, I didn't bet on the UFC. I just watched it as a fan. And now I can't even remember what it feels like to watch a fight where I don't have money on it. And I'm coming into my own. It's senior year 4.
Well, Luke, I'll tell you, it's amazing. I didn't have a lot of money on a lot of the fights that night. I think Lingo burned me the most. Chelsea Chandler burned me the most. I was watching a lot of those fights as strictly a fan because Perfect Parlay is in the dumps. I lost the first fight of the night with Elaine Perez. So I'm just watching these fights and I'm like, these are amazing fights. And that brings us to the hot topics, Luke.
Well, let me finish my monologue. I feel like I'm the best sports bettor of all time. But if you look at my last 2 weekends, though, I basically have gotten just 5 picks incorrect in the last 2 weekends. I've gone 11 out of 13 last weekend and 10 out of 13 the prior weekend. So I really feel like I'm hitting a stride. I know pretty much all the favorites except one won last night. So I understand that. But there were also a lot of pick'em fights, guys. So just because it was closely lined, you got to come up with the correct outcome on a coin flip. And to do it 10 out of 12 times, to me, it really feels like I'm tapping into something. It really feels like I have the sight. And these are big words, but going into UFC London, I'm excited to revise my picks for that because there's a couple changes I want to make. So make sure you join us on the Patreon just to see how our final thoughts go for UFC London. We're going to go through everything again with a fine-tooth comb. But for now, Alex, what were you going to say, buddy?
Hot topics. We've got Ngannou versus Fury set in stone. My personal opinion on this is that it's weird that it's not an amateur bout, but no belts are on the line. Luke, do you have any background on this? Do you know why that is the case?
So I read Ariel Helwani's tweet, and he used some. You always gotta put the reading glasses on and read everything between the lines, because he put it in quotes. He said, this fight will be under the official boxing rules, right? Mm-hmm. And then let's actually read. Let me pull it up. Let me read it exactly. Hold on. Dan, what do you think?
I actually am just learning now that it's not an exhibition. However, there's no title on the line. I've never heard of that.
Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou will take place under the official rules of professional boxing, with 3 judges ringside adopting the 10-point must system. Both fighters, however, are promising to meet in the middle of the ring, go to war, and win by knockout in devastating fashion. Per release, it will also take place in a regulation boxing ring under the standard boxing rules. More, an agreement has been reached with Queensberry, Top Rank, and Ngannou's promoter to partner with to host the event. Okay, so
it's taking the Queensberry boxing rules, the unified Queensberry boxing rules.
Queensberry Top Rank, that's a promotional banner. Queensberry is a promotional banner. So listen.
No, it's Queensberry boxing, no?
It says more. An agreement has been reached with Queensberry, Top Rank, Ngannou's promotional banner, So basically, what they're saying, Queensberry is a promotional banner. Stop talking about that for now. Let's move on. What's weird about this tweet, though, is under the official rules of professional boxing with 3 judges ringside, in quotes. Why is it in quotes? You know what I mean? Why isn't it just Fury versus Ngannou is a boxing match? You know what I mean? I don't understand why all the weird language and stuff.
Because they probably can't knock each other out. I think that's the thing, right? That's what everyone's afraid of.
But that's a separate Neanderthal-like thought that some people have, where you think that's even possible. It's not possible for 2 people to go into a boxing ring with an agreement to not knock each other out. Nobody has.
That's happened before.
That's not happened before. Nobody has the ability to go into a boxing ring and decide to not knock somebody out. I don't know what punch is going to knock you out.
Happened with Tyson and Roy Jones. Happened with Tyson and Roy Jones. They had that agreement.
That is not an agreement that they could possibly make.
You're telling me that 2 75-year-old men going in there one of them wouldn't be knocked out? I would think one of those guys would be knocked out.
But Dan, that would have to. Luke, their fight, if they agreed to that for real, it would have to look like a shadow boxing match, that of a women's MMA fight with Caitlin Chukagian involved, or Derek Lewis versus Francis Ngannou, where they're just sitting there not looking at each other the entire fight. You can't determine, people get knocked out with jabs. People get knocked out with jabs all the time. Yeah, you could jab somebody right on the right spot at the right time. They're moving their head in the right direction. You can't necessarily plan that unless it's like the WWE.
Okay,
and even then they accidentally knock each other out. Even then they accidentally knock each other out.
So, and then, or it would look like Naitan Schulte and Raush Manifio, who were friends who squared off at PFL 6 in Atlanta. I'm reading this article. And, remember the whole thing with the PFL guys who,
Cite it. Cite your source. Don't plagiarize.
Talksport.com. So listen, I'm just saying, I'm just was trying to get their names because I don't know their names. But point is, listen, Dan, what you're saying, I guess in theory could be possible if Tyson and Roy Jones agreed to those 2 guys who were training partners allegedly did in the PFL. Then yeah, I guess in theory what you're saying could be possible. But what I'm saying is, I think that those guys, being as rusty as they are in boxing and as old as they are, like Alex says, it would look very obvious and it would look like almost choreography that we'd be watching. It would be almost more impressive if they could do that. But I think the reality is they just are both old and tired. And I think the last thing to probably go in boxing is your ability to defend and move away. So especially when the other person's also 70. So it's I guess my point is, when it comes to that is, sure, what you're saying could be true. But in this situation, I don't think that they could have an agreement to not knock each other out in this sort of setting with 2 young guys.
Or Tyson Fury is just telling him that and is going to knock him out and put some horsehair in his freaking glove. If this isn't
the size and the shape of an egg weight.
Yes, something the size and the shape and the mass of an egg weight, okay? He might put something like that in his glove and he's like, oh, these are going by the quote unquote official rules of boxing, but my gloves are not getting checked before the bout because we're going to be in Saudi Arabia and I'm going to knock Francis Ngannou out cold, and Dana White will be right because Dana White was protecting him with this umbrella of like, no, Francis, if you are going to do this, it is going to be a sanctioned bout for the belts, and you are going to relinquish those belts and come back to the UFC. And Francis is like, no. You are using me. You are using me. You are using me. And now Francis Ngannou is going to go to Saudi Arabia and just get knocked the fuck out in 3 rounds by Tyson Fury. And everybody's going to be like, oh, that's why he took down Cyril Gane all along. When in reality, it's because Tyson Fury is a gypsy king and he's going to be putting gypsy curses on Francis Ngannou and on his own gloves.
Okay.
What? You're not allowed to talk about gypsies? Come on, man.
I mean, I think Tyson Fury might be the only exception since he is
the gypsy king. He calls himself a gypsy.
Okay, listen. Okay, it's like you're so right in so much of what you said. In that Tyson Fury and the boxing community are going to absolutely take advantage of Francis Ngannou at every turn. He thinks that he's, what he's getting is money. Yeah, he's getting money, but there's other. It's hard to explain. There's other things behind these doors that I think people aren't realizing. Like you said, if he had done this through Dana White in the UFC, he could ensure that he has a contract with the UFC for the most amount of money any heavyweight has ever received. So I don't understand how people can point the gun at Dana White and say that he was trying to hurt Ngannou in any way by offering him one of the biggest contracts that the UFC's offered anybody in the history of the sport, right? These other folks want to take away weapons that he has, put him in a situation that isn't his own, use him for all the people who are going to come over to this new thing. I would have watched the Tyson Fury fight anyway. Tyson Fury could have fought a mop, and I would have bought that pay-per-view because I'm a casual boxing fan. Okay? But so they're not actually going to make much more money, I don't think. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they're going to – everybody who is a UFC fan already was a Tyson Fury fan. I was as much a Tyson Fury fan as I was a Francis Ngannou fan. And I'm the biggest UFC fan I know.
I'm far more a Tyson Fury fan than I am a Francis Ngannou fan.
Well, from an entertainment standpoint, like I was much more of a Tyson Fury fan. But now, after Chael put all those nails in Tyson Fury's coffin, I mean, do you see those recent videos he put out? Our God, you see how good our God is? Oh my God, he just basically was just tearing Fury apart, being like, dude, he's a coward. He articulated how I felt, which is like, I love Tyson Fury, and all Tyson Fury had to do was just not be so crazy and just stay in his little boxing lane, but he's forcing all of us to be like, all right, bro, but seriously, like, you're not doing a manly thing by bringing Ngannou into box. He's 38 years old. He's never boxed before. Like, you're the best boxer in the world. Like, you're not testing yourself. He keeps saying he's testing himself against other combat athletes. This isn't testing yourself, dude. Like,
yeah. And if Deontay Wilder didn't get him out of there with he's
an Olympian. Deontay Wilder is an Olympian.
Right? And he was an Olympian when he wasn't even serious about it. Yeah. He was an Olympian. He was a bronze medalist, and he wasn't even serious about it. He was just coming in there after Alabama Roll Tide, daggone football, and he was just having fun. And then all of a sudden he goes to the Olympics.
Tyson beat his ass. And he would beat Francis Ngannou's ass. And
some would say worse. Some would say there was a crab in the bucket referee. Yeah. And some would say that when you hold a flaming coal and you plan to throw it upon somebody else, all you do is burn your hand.
I'll say this, though. At least he's given the fans what they want, something interesting. He already beat Deontay Wilder 2 times over. That fight's done with. Joshua is apparently running. That's the only other interesting candidate. Who's he going to fight? The Usyk guy? Jake Paul. There you go. That'd be a good one. There, a couple PFL fighters there, and Ngannou and Jake Paul fighting both at the same time after this one.
Usyk would be great, but Tyson Fury absolutely manhandles him.
Plus, I know that Usyk isn't a big deal because I know his name, but I don't know anything about him.
But Anthony Joshua is a crybaby. Anthony Joshua is
I don't think he's signing the fight. I think that's on Joshua's end where he's not.
No, Anthony Joshua is an absolute crybaby. crybaby football, aka soccer fan. He's a soccer guy. He likes to take. I hate Anthony Joshua. I hate everything about that bodybuilder, as Tyson Fury would call him. He's a bodybuilder. He is not Jack Dempsey. He is not a Mike Tyson. He is not a behemoth of a man like Tyson Fury.
What's going on with Andy Ruiz? Does he suck? Is he good? He was interesting for a moment.
Both of the above.
Basically, he won that title against Joshua, and then he ballooned up to like 575 pounds, and then went on Jimmy Kimmel. And then
awesome. Have him fight Tyson Fury. I want to see that. I don't care how bad he is now.
This was the guy, dude. This was the guy who actually maybe could have beaten him in boxing. Okay, but because he has similar attributes to athleticism and speed, athleticism, things of that nature. John could have done it, but we're not going to see that. But wouldn't it be crazy if Ngannou goes in there and knocks out Tyson Fury?
I would love every second of it.
Oh, I would love it.
Be great.
I mean, like,
actually, I would actually hate it.
I would not.
I would actually hate it.
Yeah, no.
I would like it because this is still MMA versus boxing. We got to ride with Ngannou, even though it's like, dude, it's like Ngannou and Diaz. They got to go in there and win. It's simple. As
Diaz has to win.
No, I would
Diaz
rather
has to win.
If I could channel the boxing MMA gods, it would be that Francis Ngannou loses and falls flat on his face and realizes he made a terrible decision. And even calling out John Jones, terrible decision.
Yeah, no, I guess I would rather see Nate Diaz win. If I can only choose one, I'm picking Nate.
You can only choose one, and it's between Tyson Fury, a likable character, and
Francis. He broke bad on me now. I mean, he's not. Dude, the fact that he just can't see, like, all Tyson Fury has to do is come to MMA and fight for the UFC heavyweight championship against John Jones in MMA, and then all of a sudden there would be you would never be able to top it. You would never, ever, ever be able to top it. It would be
Luke,
the most all
he
these
could
things
wait.
He
could just wait, and then somebody who's a lot worse than John Jones, like Cyril Gane, who's not going to take him down once, he could come into the UFC and knock him out in 10 seconds.
That's what I'm saying. Or you could just learn how to defend a takedown. At heavyweight, it's not even hard. Like, it's not hard to defend a takedown to heavyweight. It's not hard at all.
It's hard to get a training partner who will actually test you to learn how to defend an actual takedown when you're a behemoth of a man, 6'10", 250 pounds.
All right.
I mean, he might be above the UFC limit, but besides that, we have a common trend in ladies MMA now, and I would like to see the UFC adopt it. Women's MMA, women's boxing, a lot of girls are just flashing the cam. I love the twerking as much as the next guy, but if you just
Alex, this is haram. I don't want to talk about this.
It is haram. Okay. On to the next hot topic. There's only one other.
We don't need to know how you feel about boobs, okay? We don't need to hear about this on the podcast.
It happened last weekend on a DAZN stream.
We don't promote this trash. We don't promote this as an MMA show. Sometimes we get into the realm of
Luke, gambling is also haram. Did you not know that?
That says who? You got to bet on yourself every day when you wake up.
The Quran, my man.
I have to bet on myself every time I put my shoes on and walk out the door. Is that haram?
Potentially. Don't put your shoes on. Walk. Ground more.
Everything. You ever read the series of statistical anomalies? We have to move forward. Okay, let's go. Guys,
but anyway, the last hot topic before we get into the next card, Luke. One more.
Is it this atrocious UFC 291 poster that some idiot marketing major with thick rimmed black glasses and a cat and blue hair made? Because who wants to see these heroic athletes making it look like they're in front of a mugshot in a police station? This is insanity. This is promoting negative stereotypes. This is not good at all. 291 poster, 2 thumbs way down. Fire this person. I know they have blue hair, and I know they have big, thick black glasses, and they went to school at NYU. Who are these people that work at the marketing department of the UFC? Like, what are their politics that this is what they chose to do? I don't understand. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. This is the craziest poster I've ever seen. And Dustin Poirier.
Well, Luke, if I were to take a guess based on Dana White's standpoints, they would probably be very right wing, and this is why they're portraying this.
This poster stinks, and not only that, this poster.
I like the poster.
So bad. It stinks so bad.
I thought it was cool too, Dad.
Do you think I hate most about it is Poirier's little shit-eating grin? I can't stand it. So this is in Salt Lake City, huh? 7/29, 23.
What do you think about Michael Venom Page going to the UFC?
Okay,
He's in the UFC. We're going to break the news. Breaking news. Michael Venom Page is in the UFC right now.
No, that's not
He is
breaking
signed.
news. That's not breaking news.
It's breaking news. We just broke the news.
That's haram. You can't lie about news.
I'm not lying. Michael Venom
That's
Page
libel.
is in the UFC. Michael Venom Page is in the UFC.
No, it's not. Just because an MMA
announced-
junkie journalist said that he's on the UFC website doesn't make him actually in the UFC. I need to hear it from the boss man himself.
Dan, I'm not paying attention to any of that crap. Okay? I'm not paying attention to any of that lib swine that is getting put right in front of your face. Okay? That is haram. This is haram, what Luke is showing. What I'm telling you is breaking news.
Did the UFC buy Bellator? That's what I heard, that the PFL is buying Bellator, but maybe the UFC came in and bought Bellator.
No, you heard PFL was buying Bellator. But now you're here, the UFC is buying Bellator, right?
That's what I just said.
No, you said the opposite.
Run that back, everybody. Jeez, that was bad. Run that back. Okay, we got to get it moving. So, yeah, MVP, one of my favorite fighters in Bellator. Super excited to see him in the UFC. The best fight that he could make in the welterweight division of the UFC, go.
Leon Edwards. Why not?
You got to give him top 10. Somebody in the top 10 first, or top 15 first. I would say best fight.
Colby Covington.
Division 170. Flashiest. Michelle Pereira after he knocks out Wonder Boy.
Yeah.
Or Wonder Boy.
After Wonder Boy loses to Pereira, you give him Michael Venom Page. Then he sends out the body bag, and then you get Pereira versus MVP, and then you get MVP versus what's another great 170 Shavkat Rakhmonov. MVP.
But Shavkat Rakhmonov is a little too ground savvy. I wouldn't necessarily want that one. I want Michael Venom Page to rise to the stardom. I don't even want him to fight 170. I want him to beat the shit out of Israel Adesanya.
That's actually
two anime nerds fighting for my honor. Two anime nerds fighting for my honor.
I think he move up to 185. Then sky is the limit. I mean, then all he has to do is stay away from the Aliskerov, the Chimaev, you get him in there. I don't even think he does that well against like Apollo Costa though. 185, he's too skinny, you know.
I would love to see him
on the Strickland. You gotta give him Strickland. You give him Brad Tavares, or you give him Bruno Silva, or you give him
Robert Whittaker.
No, how about we wheel back in Jordan? What's his name? Jordan Wright. We wheel Wright in. Give him Jordan Wright first, then Bruno Silva, then Brad Tavares, then Sean Strickland, then Israel Adesanya. Boom. That's the path.
Sean Strickland knocks out MVP.
Throw Brunson in there at some point.
Sean Strickland knocks out MVP.
Yeah, I think that fight would be interesting, but it's not. It's just one of the easy. It's not. It's one of the ones that could be like a fight. You know what I mean?
Dan, did you notice? I sent you guys a text before this, and I said, I will cover the whole entire last card in 5 minutes, and we can cover these hot topics in 15. We'll be on to the new card in 20. But Luke decided he knew a lot about that card without even watching it. So do you realize that, Dan?
Yeah, 53 minutes in. Extra content. I'm sure the fans are enjoying it. We got some hot takes here.
Make sure you go through when you do the timestamps and make it so it's like, oh, we talked about Fury versus, like, put in specific topics.
I said hot topics.
Okay, put in a couple, like, specific topics, like, that we talked about, you know? All right, let's get into the next week's card. By next week, I mean UFC 291.
And we're starting at the bottom.
I know we are. Guys, if you want to see us break down UFC...
Well, no, I'm telling you because I already wrote the names down.
Whatever, dude. You're doing it all wrong, by the way. Like, I can show you... Like, it's so frustrating because I could have just showed you an easier way to do the timestamps that would have taken you probably half the time, but then you'd be like,
What way?
You just fucking go through the video and you just click, like, 5 minutes and you just listen.
So you think that takes more time than writing it down when we cover it on the podcast as it goes on? All right, let's just get on to the fights. Like I'm so sick and tired of this.
So if you want to see us break down UFC London, we already did that main card and prelims top to bottom. We're going to go through it again with the fine-tooth comb on the Patreon. That's where you can get extra content. That's where you can subscribe and delight Dan with a beautiful, beautiful wedding present because all the money coming in July is going to Danny Boy. So get in there for the full year. If you're a current month-to-month member, cancel that shit. Subscribe for the full year. That's what we want you to do this month. And if you're not in there yet, get in there. Make it a month, make it a year, whatever you can afford. But if you're gambling and you're watching us, you have plenty of money and plenty of time, it seems, because a lot of better things you could be doing with both. Thank you all for joining the show. This is the Perfect Parlay Pursuit. I'm coming into my prime, and so is a one Matthew, the Jedi, Gentle'sburger. Matthew, the Jedi, Semlsberger, taking on Uros, the Doctor, Madik. 2 fighters, 2 pandemic heroes, 2 fighters we all love on this podcast. It's going to be really hard to pick just one, but we are coming in 8-1. Uros Madik, 30 years old, 156 pounds. Was his last
That's not the first fight on the card.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. I guess we can take the win completely out of our sails, shift gears entirely to a lady fight. I had some great stuff to say about Semi the Jedi, but I need to get a water. I'm getting a little dehydrated. So, Alex, start us off. Zombie Girl. Guys, it's UFC 291.
Zombie Girl versus Miranda.
We're actually pretty surprised that we're about to break down UFC 291 because I think for a lot of people, they thought UFC 291, that stacked mega card with Poirier and Gaethje and all these great fights, that's got to be months away. No, it's right around the corner. We got UFC London, a daytime card, which we already broke down for you. It's starting at noon. Don't forget. So get in there, watch the picks we already gave you, get into the Patreon, watch the updated picks. But now we're about to do UFC 291. I don't think you guys understand. Main card and prelims, it's UFC 291 time. So let's fucking go. First fight of the card, Priscilla Cachoeira, the Zombie Girl, taking on Miranda Maverick. An actually S-tier level lady fight. A-tier level lady fight. It's a B average. We got a good lady fight here. Miranda Maverick, taking on Priscilla Zombie Girl, Cachoeira. Alex, why don't you start this one off for us while you get a drink of water?
Bitch, I was trying. We didn't need you to repeat everything you repeated 10 minutes ago. Okay. Miranda Maverick versus Priscilla Cachoeira. I can only imagine that the Maverick, fear the Maverick. She missed an entire marketing scheme with all of the Top Gun Maverick movie that just came out recently. She should have switched her name to Top Gun Maverick, so she shows up on the search engine. You know, Dan?
I know.
If you're looking,
that would be getting the SEO fired up, huh?
Exactly. If you're looking her up on Bing, she should be the Dan. And you use Bing, right? You're an avid Bing user.
I'm not. I guess I'm a Google guy. I'm really more of a Chat GPT guy, but if I'm using a standard traditional search engine, I just go with what pops up, which is Google.
Oh my!
Too much more effort to go with the Bing. Is Bing all that much better?
Bing is amazing. The only thing better than that is Ask Jeeves, but they got rid of that. Jeeves was my guy. But anyway, guys, I'm sorry to get us on search engine optimization. I'm gonna go with the Zombie Girl here. I feel like she's gonna be the dog. I feel like what we have to do is fear the dog, not fear the Maverick. Fear the dog. People are gonna think that the Maverick is just gonna have her way with her. I'm taking the Zombie, unless the Zombie is the favorite. Then I'm taking the Maverick. Top Gun Maverick, Tom Cruise, younger, stronger, more fit. Miranda Maverick. I'm going with Miranda Maverick. Dan, what are you doing?
So I'm looking for the odds here. I don't see it quite yet. If I do find them, I'll let you know. However, I am in agreement with you. I'm also going to go with the Zombie Girl here. Hopefully,
I went with Miranda Maverick. I talked myself out of it.
Okay, I'm not in agreement. Then we're 1-1. We're split. We'll have Luke break up the tie. The reason why, and as I was saying, I really hope I don't fall into a recency bias here. I do think, however, that Maverick is a little too technical for her own good, or at least attempting to be a little too technical in really both the striking and the grappling. Whereas Cachoeira, she's probably not as great, again, with that technical aspect, but she's going to go for it. She's not going to get submitted by Maverick. She's not going to get knocked out. But I think the opposite is very much more so true, more possible, I should say. Maverick seems to have a pretty good chin, but she's not throwing at the output as Cachoeira. She's not putting as much offense into the grappling, throwing up submissions as opposed to just getting a standard position ready for her. I like Cachoeira here. Anytime you have an uber aggressive female fighter, that's an advantage over most. So I'll take that one.
All I can think is like Miranda Maverick missed an opportunity not naming herself Top Gun.
That's what I said actually, and you missed it all, I guess.
Oh, I'm kidding. I thought I'd get more of a reaction out of you if I heard it from the other room. Anyway, Miranda Maverick minus 350 favorite on best fight odds. I'm seeing, so that's on BetMGM and Caesars minus 350 and Bet Rivers minus 375. We don't got anything for a lot of the card yet, but Alex, you called it right saying that Miranda Maverick would be the favorite, but I think that she's the rightful favorite. She's got the skill set to make this one an easy path. Like, she could just pick Priscilla Cachoeira up and take her down, right? She's got the wrestling to do that, right? But Priscilla Cachoeira is so resurgent since MMA Masters. Like, the way she just beat the shit out of Lipinski, knocked her ass out. Like, she's looked pretty good. She's got a lot of fight in her. She has really impressed me. So, I want to go with Cachoeira here. It's ballsy. It's the first fight of the night, but really, how ballsy is it to pick an underdog in a women's MMA fight? I think Miranda Maverick's numbers got to get pulled eventually. She's had a lot of success recently, but it's going to be.
I mean, she's coming off of a loss, where Priscilla Cachoeira is coming off of 2 wins.
Am I mistaking Miranda Maverick with the girl that's at Tatiana Suarez? Who's good? Is Tatiana Suarez good and Miranda Maverick?
Tatiana Suarez is
Tatiana Suarez is good,
right? She's undefeated, right?
Yeah.
I'm mixing them up. The girl, yeah, okay. Miranda Maverick's Elevation fight team. MMA Masters fights in Salt Lake at Elevation. Okay, Miranda Maverick's gonna win. Miranda Maverick. Okay, Elevation. I'm going Miranda Maverick. Okay, Salt Lake City. I forgot this one's at Salt Lake City, boys. Come on. Okay, cool. So first pick of the night, Alex and I are going with Miranda Maverick. Dan's gonna give Zombie Girl the respect she deserves. But one thing to note, she is 34, almost 35, and Miranda is a very ripe 26, 4 weeks into her 26th birthday. So
what do you mean by ripe?
4 weeks into being 26, whereas Cachoeira is what you call a stale 34-year-old. She's about to turn 35. So
what do you mean by ripe?
I just told you. All right, so let's move on. Next, the fight I really wanted to break down: Semi the Jedi taking on Urus Madik. Urus Madik, 8-1. Semi the Jedi, much more tenured, double the fights, 11-5. Urus Madik coming up in weight. He's going to go up to welterweight for the first time. Hit or miss with these situations, right? You'll have guys who say, "Oh, he's finally fighting at his proper weight," and you'll have guys saying he looks small at welterweight, or he didn't put in the road work and get down to 155, so his cardio is not going to be there, and maybe he is a little bit too comfortable. There's certain disadvantages and advantages. It's really hard to tell when you guys only got 9 fights, and some of them haven't even been in the UFC. He's got a win against Elon Cruz by KO, flying knee to ground and pound 2 years ago, his debut fight after the Contender Series victory by knockout as well. And then he got choked out by Jalen Turner 1 year, 9 months ago, followed by coming back a year ago and knocking out Omar Moraes. So coming in off a knockout against Omar Moraes a year ago, that's a little bit too much time off for me going in against Semi the Jedi, who just got busy over the last 5 months with 2 fights against Jake Matthews and Jeremiah Wells, winning 1 and taking another one to split decision loss. So I saw both those fights. I loved him against Jeremiah Wells. That was a fucking blood and guts war. I thought Semi the Jedi won that fight, to be honest with you. Definitely did more of the damage, right, Alex? I mean, you got to give him a 10-8 in that one round. He almost knocked Wells out. So if it really gets back to our conversation about UFC Vegas 77, like last weekend, where we were talking about how judges rewarding control in Wells' favor versus damage in Semi the Jedi's favor, right? So it's
just that they can never be consistent. It's like in one instance, they will reward control, and then in the other, they will reward damage.
Like, that's good for them, right? Because it's so many different judges, so many different fights, and so many different outcomes, you really can't draw that correlation that like gives you that smoking gun you're looking for, right? We just get these whispers of like, Adelaide Bird.
It's not like the NFL where
you kind of just like, oh wait, I heard that before, But then she'll do something completely right. She'll be on the right side of a decision, and other two are not, And you're like, I don't know what to think. It's like you're constantly getting mind fucked.
Yeah, it's not like the NFL where everything is kind of a blanketed, rule where they have to follow it every time. Where,
I don't know. I don't know what holding is to this day, dude. I don't know.
The pass interference and the holding is subjective, but most of the calls are like black and white. It's easy to call, right?
Yeah, but you got that whole thing where it's like you could call a foul on every single play, right? That's like the thing.
That's what I'm saying, but that's mostly holding and pass interference, right?
No, because it's extremely subjective.
They spot, dude. Sometimes they spot the ball blatantly not in accordance with where you see it on the TV screen, and the crowd goes boo, and they just play that down. Like that happens all the time. You know what I mean? Where so every sport is just
it's like in the Eagles Super Bowl where the guy barely tugged on a jersey, and then all of a sudden there's a pass interference call. They get a first down, and then the birds, our beloved birds, lose the Super Bowl for no fucking reason, dude. And I was so sick of it, I had to start drinking water.
Internet connection went down with your accent, dude. It's once they heard you were Philly accent, they realized you had not paid the bill, and they started to turn your Wi-Fi off. It seems. And
that's a problem, dude.
Well, listen, I'm in complete agreements with you, but we just have to just keep doing the Lord's work and gambling on every single UFC fight every single weekend and watching them and studying them. And
Haram.
I mean, that's just all we have to do. It's only we have to keep doing. This is it ain't much, but it's honest work. That's all I got to say. So for me, the pick is Semi the Jedi. I mean, aside from the Morono fight, his last 5, he's spotless. Like he's actually won the Wells fight in my opinion. So I'm going with Semi the Jedi, and I'm even gonna say that he fucking finishes the Doctor. The Doctor's going to need a doctor with that 4-inch reach disadvantage coming up in weight against big boy from Maryland, Semi the Jedi. Crab cakes in football, that's what Maryland does. We also do lacrosse, and we also do elbows to the face to grounded opponents who are in our guard, and that's what Semi is going to do to Medic. Bang, bang, elbows like that. I see it.
Semi the Jedi for me as well. Luke said it all. Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, Luke certainly said a lot. Also going to go with Semi the Jedi. So we'll have our first triple P certification here. Medic has to show me a little bit more, I think, in the UFC. In his Alaskan fights, he looked awesome, but it's been, I wouldn't say lackluster, but in my mind's eye, I'm seeing Semlsberger as, his experience really coming through here and the power certainly coming through. I agree with Luke. I think a knockout might be coming. Semlsberger's due, so got to give the Maryland boys credit.
And if you take a look at this topology comparison, you see that Miguel Baeza, Carmel Thunder, looks like a young Rock Johnson. That's Dwayne Johnson. Young Rocky Dwayne Johnson. You take a picture of The Rock's dad when he was young in the pro wrestling days. You take a picture of The Rock when he was young. Miguel Baeza looks like The Rock. And you would expect him to go in there and fucking win, right? I mean, he's MMA Masters down there in Florida, young guy, 30 years old, 6'2", 74-inch reach. Win against Matt Brown, left hook. Win against Takashi Sato, submission triangle choke. Wonderful. Takashi Sato, even Gunnar Nelson couldn't submit Takashi Sato. But then you see this. Boom. Ponzinibbio gets the boy. Boom. Chaos Williams knocks him out. And now Andre Fiallo knocks him out again. So where do we spot the ball here, guys? Because back-to-back knockout losses is not so good. And as we just said, Semi the Jedi is a very tough, competitive athlete. To go a decision with him is not that bad 6 months ago compared to getting knocked out a year ago and sitting on the shelf since. 2 years younger, 2 inches shorter, 2 inches of reach disadvantage. But will those 2 knockouts be the 2 that actually matters in this situation, guys? I just did a poetic opening to that. Why don't you take it from here, Dan?
This one is also a tough one for me.
I'm sorry about that.
What's that even in?
Oh, week, Mother Cans fight week, guys. Meatball day week. Sorry.
It's all good. Matthews has been such a consistent force throughout the UFC. And even as of late, he seems to have risen up a little bit, at least how I have traditionally thought of him as a fighter. I thought him kind of not a gatekeeper, but more middle of the pack. But I've seen him rising as of late. Miguel Baeza, I mean, he's got all the skills in the world, super technical, very fast, pretty powerful as well, good output. The only thing is he's very chinny. He's getting knocked out left and right. Will Matthews be able to overcompensate for the fact that he's probably not as skilled of a fighter, not as fast of a guy as Baeza, and just eventually find that chin. I'm gonna go with Baeza. This guy is too good. He's been in some wars. I just think that his skill set is going to match up well against Matthews, who's a little bit more, kind of more of a plotting fighter than Baeza.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I'm gonna have to go with Matthews, man. Just because. All right, so the line right now: Matthews minus 185, Baeza plus 150. I want to also note similar line. Matt Semlsberger was also a favorite, so minus 145. Arismedik slight dog plus 120 on BetMGM. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Matthews here. I just don't like guys that are coming off back-to-back knockout losses. Also, I don't like the fact that he hasn't fought in a year, whereas in a year, Matthews knocked out the man who knocked him out and had a war with Matthew Semlsberger. So, before that, yeah, he got submitted by Sean Brady. That happens. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of with you. I feel like in my head, there's a voice saying it's Baeza, dude. Baeza's going to win.
He's due. But he's not going to lose 3 in a row.
4 in a row. This would be 4 in a row.
4 in a row.
Oh my god. He's lost 3 in a row. The only 3 losses he has in his career have been the last 3. And one was a decision against Ponzinibbio, which nobody gets out unscathed against him, and the other 2 are knockouts. So I'm just saying, look at Terrence McKinney now after back-to-back knockouts. Look how he fights. Look how he loses still. Guys who we thought were almost going to be impervious going up to the title, like their Bo Nickel or some shit, Even Bo Nickel, you think he's going to make it to the title unscathed? How many do, guys? How many do? Do any? Let me ask you this again. Do any make it there unscathed? And if they do, is it a cheap made-up title that they take off a real estate agent?
Well, we know Baeza hasn't gone unscathed. He's been knocked out a couple times in a row, so he's definitely not unscathed. Question is, will he be able to overcome that?
The question is, where is he now?
Yeah.
MMA math says that no one knows because Andre Fiallo got knocked out by Jake Matthews and Baeza got knocked out by Andre Fiallo. So MMA math would say that doesn't add up and that Miguel Baeza is going to knock him out. That's what MMA math says in reality.
Our god, Chael Sonnen, says MMA math works all the time. That's what he says.
He says all the time. So that means Jake Matthews beats him?
I think Jake Matthews can beat him. I think he can beat him. But I think that's what the data says, and that's why the line suggests this. If you're a gambling man and you want to bet on ethereal shit that you don't know shit about, like where this guy might be despite the evidence being to the contrary, and the fact that we know one place he wasn't, that Jake Matthews was, which was in the octagon, and if that's how you make your money, you would assume you would show up for work to be in there if you could be. So the fact that Matthews was able to be and he was not there only says to me he couldn't be there. So that means he was behind where Matthews was only 6 months ago in his own mind because he wasn't even there. So this is all we're saying, guys. I mean, it's just, if you want to be a gambling man, bet on Baeza, but don't come to me and say that was the smart bet when he's coming off back-to-back knockouts and hasn't fought in a year. It just doesn't make any sense. Concussions are real things. They don't make you better. They make you worse. I don't know how else to explain it. Dan's going with Baeza. Alex and I are taking Matthews, it seems. Am I correct about that, Alex?
Yeah, I'm taking Matthews, but at the same time, I'm going to have money on Baeza. Like, the safe bet for a parlay purposes is going to be Jake Matthews 100%. But, this guy has taken over a year off since his last knockout. And, yeah, you don't get better at something by not doing it. But I think he got knocked out twice in a row. And he was like, hey, maybe, if Chaos Williams knocks me out, Andre Fiallo knocks me out, Santiago Ponzinibbio couldn't knock me out. He's a top 15 guy in the division. He couldn't knock me out. Now all of a sudden everybody's knocking me out because I've taken a lot of damage. Maybe he realized something. Maybe he realized, hey, I need to take more time off in between fights. Yes, in between the Ponzinibbio fight and the Chaos Williams fight was only 5 months. Or no, 4 months. And then after that, 5 months. So maybe he realized something. Maybe he needs to give that brain a rest. I respect taking Miguel Baeza as a live dog, but I'm going with Jake Matthews for parlay purposes.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I feel you. Like I said to Dan, I feel like there's a part of me that something is screaming out to pick him, but I have to just sober myself up and look at the data and say, at the end of the day, you just want that to be true. You don't know. Yeah. So anyway, Kopylov versus Claudio Ribeiro. I think Let's see. Claudio Ribeiro coming off a win against Joseph Holmes. That's right. Knocked Ugly Man Joe out.
Man.
He knocked him out a month ago. Feels like that was a while ago. I don't know. I barely remember that fight. Abdul Razak Al Hassan knocked him out before that, 5 months before that. That was his UFC debut after his KO win in the Contender Series to get him into the dance. Kopylov came in to the UFC off a knockout win in another promotion, loses 2 in a row by submission, and then a decision to Duraev, who we just saw in there with Park. Looks a lot better in hindsight. I'm sure Alex would agree after seeing he said Park and Duraev stock both kind of rose there. We know how good the Iron Turtle is. So now we're kind of able to calibrate the Russian Kopylov here a little bit. DiCirico went in there against him 9 months ago. He knocked DiCirico out. Puolani Siriano went in there 5 months ago. He knocked his ass out too. So I think we're seeing, even though he's not a kid, he's 32. He's got a little baby face on him. His only 2 losses are those we saw in the UFC by Carl Baby K and Albert Duraev. Ribeiro has some losses outside of the UFC. We got knocked out in the UFC. I'm going to go with Kopylov here. Something just tells me that Kopylov can get the win. I like Kopylov. I don't know. Nobody else seems to, but oh shit. Sorry, Alex. I didn't know you were still in there.
Yeah, it was just me that entire time you were talking, and I was like, "Is Luke going to hand off the baton at some point?" I was wondering if you were like, "Okay, since you had to pee for the last fight, you can take us away," but you just kept going and going and going. So I was like, "Oh, he doesn't realize I'm the only face on the screen."
No, I didn't. But I'm gonna go with Kopylov. It's gonna be a chaotic fight. It won't be on too many of my parlays, but I just like a guy who seems like he's on a resurgence versus somebody who I feel like we haven't seen as much of in the UFC. So it seems like Kopylov's kind of shaked off his cobwebs. What do you think?
And Lukey, I couldn't disagree more. You are wrong. Claudio Ribeiro was a late minute replacement against Al-Rock Al-Hassan. That guy stinks. That guy has troubles of his own. We're taking Claudio Ribeiro here. He's going to absolutely destroy Roman Kopylov. He definitely has more dimensions to his game. I'm going with Claudio Ribeiro.
Couldn't disagree more with you, Alex. I'm siding with Lukey CK on this one. I got to go with Kopylov. I think Ribeiro is the beneficiary of fighting some pretty bad opponents. I think his striking is very sloppy. I think Kopylov throws in combination, a lot more technical, a lot quicker. Not going to give up too much as far as size and power. Ribeiro has power, no doubt about it, but I don't think Kopylov is going to be there for him to hit. So I think minus 230, I think is it's a solid parlay pillar here.
Ooh, is that what it is? Minus 230. Like I said, it's going to be a chaotic war. Kopylov holds his head straight up and his hands down a lot of the time. He's got a weak little boy body also, depending on which version of him comes in. Sometimes
he looks like a Russian Chase Hooper.
Yeah, I was going to say. He does look like a Chase Hooper.
Like a fucking Chase Hooper that they built in a lab, though, because he can come in looking pretty jacked sometimes. So I'm going to go with him here, but it's going to be a chaotic war. And him at minus 230 doesn't – I'm moving that line kind of adjusts to more of a pick 'em because I see this as more of a pick 'em. Okay.
And Luke, next up we got a cop versus a Brazilian. Shout out to Roman Kopylov. We got Trevin Giles versus Gabriel Bonfim. I mean, do you guys still have the same sour taste in your mouth about the Bonfim brothers that I do?
I don't know. I don't know if I could pass on that bad taste to the brothers because they're brothers. I mean, I know we've done that to the Burns bros.
I mean, you've done that between Luke and I. You've done that between Luke and I. Luke says something bad, and you assume that I think that as well.
Yours. Your sins are all yours. I'm gonna go with. I can't go with Trevin Giles here, even though one of the Bonfim bros has broken down bad on us. I think the brother will pull it out for the Bonfim brothers. Trevin Giles, I can't give the man much respect here. I mean, salute to the services that he provides, and he's been an entertaining fighter, but I just think he's more of the bottom of the barrel of the division there. I think this Bonfim brothers got the goods to get it done.
All right, I need to talk. So, look, here's the thing. Trevin Giles, he's the type of guy who, when he loses, all right, look, yeah, he got choked out in the UFC, but by the guy with the most submissions in the division's history, Gerald
and
Meerschaert.
Zach Cummins.
But that's interesting, right? So he gets choked out by Zach Cummins, and he gets choked out by Gerald Meerschaert in the same way, back to back. Then he gets knocked out by Driscus and gets knocked out. One was a right cross, one was a counter right. You know what I mean?
That was one of the classic PPP jokes.
Which was what?
What?
An African's going to knock out a cop, and the guy you think it is isn't.
Okay. Yeah.
Luke said that.
And I didn't say that.
What?
I didn't say that.
I don't remember that.
Some things can stay in canon and lore.
Well, then why'd you ask?
I didn't ask. So, James Krause, split decision victory over. Roman Dolidze, decision victory over. These are things you have to look at and go, he did do that, you know? And the Triscus du Plessis knockout, Triscus du Plessis knocks out everybody. He's the new champion. So this one is fucking tough, but I'm not going to repeat the definition of insanity, which is to repeat the same thing again and again and expect a different result. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to phone a friend. No, I don't know. This is a really tough one. So this guy's on a 14-fight win streak. I don't know enough about the Bonfim brother. So I'd be going off recency bias, and I'd be going off of he's 25, hot, new, shiny, undefeated toy in the UFC. He's got a brother, but his brother did just get submitted, dude, right? His brother did just get submitted by the Frenchman. So I'm going to just go and say Trevin Giles. His win against Preston Parsons is respectable. I'm going to go with Trevin Giles. It's dirty. He's going to be an underdog, but let's just see what happens. Let's just see what fucking happens.
Dan?
Already went. You're
Who'd
up.
you pick?
I went with Bonfim.
Well, I'm going to have to double P certify this. And one of you will get the rose, but the other one will not. And Dan will get the rose. It's going to be Bonfim. We can't let...
I just realized that connection on that, and I was like, that's even more funny now that I realize that. But no, I meant Bonfim, Bon Voyage. But
we can't let the recency bias.
I'm on an island by myself over here, but
we can't let the recency bias of the last Bonfim's fight. He fought a much higher caliber opponent than, Gabriel is going to be facing in this one. Trevin Giles absolutely stinks. Yeah, he beat Luis Koski. Yeah, he beat Pressure Preston Parsons. Both of those guys, not very good in my book. Sure, he beat Roman Dolidze, but everybody knows that was a fluke. That was because Roman Dolidze was blowing kisses at him while he had him in a heel hook instead of finishing him off. I'm going with Gabriel Bonfim on this one. Dan, let's take our money to the bank.
Ooh, let's do it.
All right, this next one, in my opinion, is the hardest fight of the night to call. You got Derek Lewis versus Marcos Rogério de Lima. Heavyweight clash, and boy, man, Derek Lewis, most knockouts in the division's history, but he's on back-to-back finish losses himself, getting finished by Sergey Spivak by submission, and then back-to-back knockout losses to Sergey Pavlovich and Tai Tuivasa. Before that, Cyril Gane knocked him out. He managed to get Chris Dawkins out of there with a knockout in between, but 11 losses to 8 losses. I mean, it's a heavyweight fight. Both are 38 years old. It doesn't get any greasier than this. I hope we can get just at least some value on one of them, right? I mean, I fear this is going to be like Andrei Arlovsky's fights where it's lined minus 115, minus 115. I don't know what the line's going to be here. What do you guys think about this fight?
Derek the Black Beast Lewis, baby. Let's go. We're riding that pony one more time. This guy isn't named Sergey. 2 of his last losses were by guys named Sergey. He doesn't have to deal with any Sergeys this fight. De Lima has a bit of a glass jaw himself. He's not very good. He stinks. He thinks he's a Muay Thai guy. He thinks he's a Jiu-Jitsu guy. He doesn't know what he is. What the Black Beast knows he is, he knows he's a knockout guy. He is going to knock out De Lima. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And if De Lima gets on top, he's just going to push him off him like it's a bench press. Easy money, Derek Lewis.
See, you said that De Lima doesn't have a good jaw or that he gets knocked out, but the only way that De Lima loses is he gets submitted. He has just 2 losses.
That's club and sub, Luke. That's club and sub. See, to the layman, you wouldn't realize that a lot of guys, once they get tagged on the jaw once, they give up their back. They let you choke them out. See, Luke has never sparred around in his life. He doesn't understand that once you tag somebody, they let you choke them out because they don't want any more punishment. Derek Lewis will probably choke him out. He's not going to knock him out. He's going to tag the Lima once on the chin. He's going to give up his back. Derek Lewis is going to finish him by TKO, I guess, because he's not going to go for a rear naked.
I thought you were setting up to say that Derek Lewis by submission. Well, that prop.
I'm gonna put money on that just because it's so unlikely, and DeLima is such a quitter.
Wow. I'm going to agree with the pick, not with as much gusto, but I will agree with the pick. I like Derek Lewis here. I think obviously the level of competition is through the roof in comparison to DeLima. I think DeLima, he throws that big overhand right, which I could see in my mind's eye. Lewis just finding that inside position off the counter and straight righting him just to hell and back. So I think Derek Lewis, by his traditional way of winning, KO, would be a little bit more appropriate. But I think the submission prop is wonderful as well. That sounds fun.
And Luke, what does a Derek Lewis do to a Stefan Struve? What does he do to an Oven St. Preux?
I mean, dude.
What does he do to Maurice Green?
Skyscraper's names. Skyscraper did his time. He paid a good service to the UFC. He deserves some respect. He's a veteran. He's a legend.
He deserves respect, but his head's in the rafters.
No,
he's so tall, his head's in the rafters if Derek Lewis makes contact.
Dude, I don't know. I mean, I don't have a lot of faith that Derek Lewis gets this one done, to be honest with you guys. He's 38 years old. What do you think he's been doing in between these knockout losses?
Rodrigo de Lima is 38 years old, Luke.
But he's not been losing. He's been winning. Against
Waldo Cortez Acosta, guy who only played baseball, right? Salsa Boy? Is that Salsa Boy?
That's Salsa Boy.
Okay, Andre Arlovsky, rear naked choke, he got lucky. Ben Rothwell, he's in Bare Knuckle FC. Maurice Green, he's in the PFL. Ben Saucely, who the fuck knows what he's doing? He hasn't won against a single UFC fighter that is still on the roster besides Andre Arlovsky, Luke. And he's lost to more fighters that are off the.
I'm picking DeLima. You can't stop me. I'm not picking Lewis.
I'm not going to change your mind. I'm just saying he's lost to more fighters who are off the UFC roster than he has won against fighters on the UFC roster.
Okay, so you're going to take Derek Lewis at altitude. That's your take. That's your hill to die on. Derek Lewis. We're gonna put Derek in the truck. We're gonna drive him all the way up to the top of the mountain. He's gonna be huffing and puffing in the truck, in the van. He's gonna be like, air's a little thin out here, guys.
But he ain't eating no muffins because he's barely making the heavyweight weight limit, so he's not eating muffins while he's huffing and puffing. Whereas this young, skinny guy is going to be eating a bunch of muffins on his way up, coming from the same spot, Luke, Florida, sea level.
What we need to do is get Derek Lewis
from farther, Dan. Luke doesn't know anything about geography, does he?
We need to get Derek Lewis out of the UFC and into the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. That's where Derek Lewis will make big old bags of money to show up and be the main event of a pay-per-view against fucking Gabriel Gonzalez. Ben Rothwell. But in bare knuckle, we're not going to worry about him getting tired or gassing out, and his hands are good for bare knuckle. He's got those big old hands. So Shane Carwin versus Derek Lewis in bare knuckle. Call Shane up. He's chopping wood in his backyard somewhere. Call him up. He's waiting for the call.
No, that's actually worse because he will have to fight juice heads like Shane Carwin instead of fighting USADA-approved fighters.
I mean, you better be talking apple and orange juice. Talking about my man Shane Carwin because he's in the woods and he's on 100% pure apple orchard gold. That's all he's on.
Just like Brock Lesnar said, they hate to see a white boy jacked.
I don't think that was what Brock Lesnar said.
He said they hate to see a jacked up white boy. They have to say I'm on steroids. That's what he said. Well, allegedly.
Well, you're that white boy who works too much. So let's just move on. You know who said that? Floyd Mayweather about Brendan Schaub.
Damn, dude, that was the most disrespectful thing you could throw at me. In all honesty,
Yeah, well, you better step your work ethic up so that Floyd says that about you.
Well, Brandon Schaub is the hardest working man in the comedy business. Did you not know that?
Please don't ask me any dumb questions.
Obviously, you knew that. That's a dumb question.
Obviously. Anyway, there's another Schaubism I wanted to throw at you, but you made me fucking miss it because you wouldn't stop talking. I'm trying to talk less for everybody here. I actually lost my voice over the weekend, so you'll be happy to know everybody in the comments saying that I talk too much.
Luke is not trying to talk less. We talked before this podcast. I would break down the last card in 5 minutes because nobody else here watched it, and Luke somehow decided to have poignant sentences, very poignant thoughts on the last card when he didn't even watch it. All he saw was the highlight of Chelsea Chandler running backwards, and he said, "Oh, that's my point."
Yeah,
and I told him to watch the Basil fight before that, and all he can watch is Chelsea Chandler running backwards, sprinting away like she's Usain Bolt.
Dude, the Basil fight was going to be 15 minutes. I didn't have 15 minutes before we had to sit and do the show today. So as soon as anyway, let's move on. Oh, there is a fight in a week that I wanted to talk about. We're
a day late, Luke. You didn't have 15 minutes in the 24 hours. You're watching Tom Segura?
No, I wasn't watching Tom Segura.
I heard you before the podcast started in the waiting room. You're listening to Bear Kreischer and Tom Segura. You're a bear in a cave.
Not listening to the bears in the cave. All right, let's move on. Oh, that was an ad. All right. Next, we got Stephen Wonderboy Thompson taking on Michelle Pereira. Listen, guys, this fight is the one I'm most concerned with. The one that I'm going to be betting the heaviest. And I got to go dig some money out of the couch cushions to bet on this one because what is paid in blood will be paid in full. And I already paid in blood thanks to one coward of the county named Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland, who was a fan favorite on the show, and he quit on his stool against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, a man who has gray hairs in his head.
Much like Max Rothkopf.
Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, yeah, and Max Rothkopf was banished from the UFC, never to be heard from again. He is in Bellator. And Kevin Holland quit on his stool, same way. And then you say, well, no, Kevin Holland had a broken hand. So did Wonderboy. Same, equal playing field. Wonderboy's older, had a broken hand. That was a setup fight for Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland failed. Honestly, he should be put through a series of interviews and possibly brought up into the court system for that fight because you are supposed to go in there and try your level best every time you fight. And he was letting Wonderboy up. He quit on his stool. He was essentially shaving points. I mean,
there was rumors that they agreed to a kickboxing bout.
And that's a locker room agreement that's against the rules. I don't care what the idiot fans say. You really think I care that a bunch of fans are like, oh, protect this man at all costs. I love Wonderboy. I hate Wonderboy. How about that? I just said it. I hate him. Okay. So
him, Robert Whitaker, everybody likes, Luke hates.
Dude, it is fucking the witching hour for all of the fighters that I hate the most. It's witching hour, and the witches arrived, and the Halloween season is yet almost upon us. We are only a few months away, and guess what? The witch is coming.
Paddy Pimblett's about to fight Drew Dober.
The book will open, and the witch.
I'm just kidding. I don't know that.
They already took one. Robert Whitaker. They took him up into the sky, and he's gone. Bye, Rob. And now, guess who's next? Wonderboy. You're next. And what I did was this: placed a $100 bet on Driscoll's 2+Cs, and I parlayed it with Justin Gaethje at plus 108 odds, okay? When Driscoll's won that $100 bet, they offered me a $335.68 cash out, okay? And all that needed to happen to win $800 was Gaethje needed to win, but they're all for me $335 right then and there. So I see, okay, what should I do? So I cash out, I take the $335, and then I put it on Pereira, who I was even more confident in than Driscoll's, and Gaethje. So now it's, again, a 2-fight parlay. Pereira plus 186. I need to go pawn all the jewelry in my bedroom jewelry box. It's in my bedroom. It's not my jewelry, but it's in my bedroom. You see what I'm saying, guys? I'm going to go pawn all the jewelry that's in my bedroom. I'm going to pawn my girlfriend's car. I'm going to pawn all the baby stuff that's supposed to be for our next kid. I'm going to pawn that. I'm gonna have a list this long, like Santa's Christmas list, of things I have to go get back from the pawn shop on Sunday because of all the money I'm gonna need to put at plus 186 against Wonderboy. And I just hope that line gets to plus 200 because I know all these fans of Wonderboy are gonna keep betting on him and they're gonna just move that line. Move that line. Just like Extreme Home Makeover. Move that bus, baby. Let's move that line, guys. Michelle Pereira on FanDuel is plus 186. It moved down to plus 172. So I need to get $1,700.20 on Michelle Pereira at some point to win 1,000, I guess. I don't know. I mean, you guys tell me what I should do. Am I again ahead of my skis like I was with Kevin Holland? Because I'm just waiting for the ball to drop on Stephen Wonderboy Thompson.
Don't make me bust out the balaclava, Luke. Don't make me bust out the balaclava. They're now illegal in Philadelphia. So you're not allowed to wear a balaclava around in Philadelphia. I will bust it out if we're robbing another bank.
Bro, I wouldn't set foot in Baltimore or Philadelphia again if you paid me, okay? So I don't go to these – or New York City. I drove through New York City on the way back from Long Island the other day. Oh, my God, what a dump, dude. It was raining that day. I look at the citizens walking around the street. They look like a bunch of drowned rats. It was disgusting. I was like, I used to miss this city. I'm glad I got to look at it now.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy you say that, Luke, because Dan, not 5 days ago, Luke was telling me you got to move to New York City. You gotta just get that energy in you. You got to get those rats pissing in your water this whole time. So
he's not looking out for your best interests. Clearly,
it's just like how Luke is like
something. I think Pereira might win. I thought he was crazy at first when we talked about it last week at the wedding in confidence. So we're scheming over there on the bus. I thought he was crazy. With a couple of days sleeping on it here, I think he might be onto something. I think Wonder Boy, all those gray hairs might be catching up to him. Pereira, I don't think anyone really knows what his age is, but damn, does he look young? Does he act young? Does his his athletic ability is holding up like a young man? So I think there's going to be at least one or two right hands that get through to Thompson at some point. I know it's a bit of a dog shot. I'm not going to have it on many parlays, but I think it's worth sprinkling on a couple and leaving the rest blank. I kind of like Pereira here. It's one of those gut feeling things.
Yeah, Dan is pulling an entire Danny Overeem here. He's like, where's his birth certificate at? He's from the Amazon. I don't know exactly when he's born. Who's to say he's 29 years old? As somebody with a daggum receding hairline, I'll be the first to tell you, as a 25-year-old male, 26 now, I guess, 26-year-old male, it's easy to have a receding hairline. I have a receding hairline myself. I have a widow's peak right here.
Dude, apparently he's younger than me. He's 29. That doesn't make any sense. This guy is not younger than me.
He's younger than you. He's sexier than you. He's taller than you. He's stronger than you. He has a longer arm.
All the latter is true, but maybe not the former.
He's going through what we all go through, which is professional athletes are now younger than us by a lot, and it sucks.
Yes,
no, it's because the way he looks.
I do agree with
the way he looks.
And that's why
Jalen Hurts is Cooper's younger than me. I'm not like, young athletes. But Michelle Pereira, this guy looks like he's 40.
He looks like
no. Because Chase Hooper is a weight-baiting motherfucker. He goes down to 155 when he could just put on some solid mass like a real man. But instead he wants to be the teenage dream like he's Katy fucking Perry. He wants to be the American teenage dream and sit around here being a 155-pounder when he's 6'4". What the hell are we talking about here? We're going to represent a string bean on this podcast? We don't represent any string beans, okay?
Michelle Pereira by knockout. And I can't wait until Wonder Boy.
I'm taking Michelle Pereira as well. Triple P certified Michelle Pereira. I didn't give my pick off yet. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, chicken neck, chicken jaw. Yeah, he might be good at countering, but how good is he at countering when Michelle Pereira has no respect for you? He's going to do a front flip kick, hit you in the face, kill you, murder you in the octagon. Michelle Pereira.
Heel kick. It's going to be wheel kick. And then as he's falling down, flying knee. And then his tongue is going to hang out like my friend's tongue used to. And then all the fans, it's going to be like when Chocolate L got knocked out. It's going to be like when Chocolate L got knocked out, where you're going to be able to hear
the reaction is going to be like when Estrella Nunes got her arm broken. Everybody's going to be like, oh, poor girl. It happened 15 seconds in. When Michelle Pereira is going to do it 4 minutes and 38 seconds in. And on top of that, he's going to give Wonderboy a battering because he has a karate respect where he's coming in here. And guess what? Michel Pereira is going to be sprinting across the cage like Basil Hafez, the Habibi, did against Jack Della Maddalena.
I can't have the Michel Pereira who's high-fiving and respecting.
No shot that happened.
Smacking in the face. Who's doing it. But the problem is that Wonderboy has like this little drunken master, I'm just an old man defense.
I'm your friend. I'm your friend.
Cowboy did. All these guys on the way out, they just turn in, they turn and give you their belly on the way out. You know what I mean? It's just all about respect. And it's like, yeah, you need to do that now. You need to do that.
What did they call it in wrestling, Luke? What did they call it in wrestling?
What? Yeah.
What did they call it in wrestling?
I don't know.
Not the heel, the
babyface.
Babyface, yes. They give babyface to these guys, and they give them way too much respect beforehand. They're interlocking hands, and I don't want to see that. I want to see the demon Michel Pereira.
I'm just saying I don't want to see Wonderboy.
I want to see no respect.
Goad him into like, hey, look, isn't this great? The fans sure are loving this. Let's just keep hitting the air and swinging our kicks around. And then the fans, this is like a karate movie, huh? This is just like in the 80s, huh? No, shut up. We're done with that shit. We're done with that shit. And this is your funeral. Like, it's over for Wonderboy. I think Pereira knocks him out bad. I think Pereira knocks him out real bad. The fact that he's an underdog is crazy. This is like the Driscus Duplessis situation all over again. Guys, we're gonna go 3 for 3. We're gonna put Rob Whittaker to bed with a knockout. We're gonna put Wonderboy to bed with a knockout, and then in the main event,
you'll see.
One left.
You'll see.
So let's get into it.
But as Chris Curtis said, he was like, Wonderboy's dad is a fucking hard ass. But Wonderboy is just like such a sweet guy. They're gonna take him home on that bus, Luke, that he pulls around the kids in the community to karate class in. That's what they're gonna pull him in. It's not gonna be a hearse. It's gonna be that bus. And guess what? His dad's gonna be driving. He said, "Hey, you should have had more of an edge to you, boy."
No. And it's like you're taking it too far. You're taking it too far. Okay, talk about.
All right, cut that part out. Cut that part out.
Not cutting that part out.
All right, cut that part out. Okay, let's restart. Let's restart from here.
We can't keep cutting things out. People hate.
Well,
that.
we're not cutting any of that part out.
No.
We are cutting that part that we said we were going to cut out before out. We're not cutting anything out.
I'm going to be honest with you. After this fight, they might not let Wonderboy drive the bus anymore. I'm going to be like, just the insurance company.
And they let anybody drive a bus. We had a guy who had Velcro shoes drive our bus. He did.
You know what? I think actually, I think that Wonderboy may have more in common with that man after this fight than we care to admit. Okay. Best thing Wonderboy.
So they'll still let him drive the bus at least. Come on.
Best thing Wonderboy could do is pull out of this fight, or like, see, here's the thing. He keeps not wanting to get into these wrestling fights, but it's like, who treated him the best? Gilbert Burns and Bilal Muhammad didn't put a scratch on him. Every time he wants to get in there with strikers, like, give me somebody who's going to strike with me. All right, here's Anthony Pettis, a weight class below you. But boom! You know what I mean? It's like, and then you give him Kevin Holland. Sure. I mean, that was crazy. That was, like I said, should be looked into in the same way Krause is being looked into, same way Derek Minner was looked into. That should be looked into because Kevin Holland, like, it's almost like he wanted the fight to end in a very specific round, in a very specific outcome, because he decided the fight was over right then and there, right? It's like it wasn't like Wonderboy stopped it. It was like Kevin stopped it.
What happened when Uriah Faber broke both of his hands in a fight? He said, I just started elbow.
Yeah, what happened when Uriah Hall's toe was poking out of his skin in a fight and he fought the third round?
What happened when the guy behind you, John Jones, had his toe pop out of his skin? He choked out the great, but redact that actually. Cut that part out. Chael Sonnen has never lost a fight, never lost.
I've never lost, but I've also never been injured. It's one of those things.
All right, start from the top, guys. Start from the top. Luke, who do you have in the Michel Pereira fight?
Okay, I have Michel Pereira, emphatically.
Okay, Dan, who do you have?
Michel Pereira, not emphatically.
Okay, I also have Michel Pereira, Triple P certified. A very Wonder Bread breakdown for you guys. After this, we have CJ Vergara versus Salvador. Dan, what do you think about El Salvador? What do you think about CJ Vergara? What do you think?
Is CJ Vergara from El Salvador?
No, Salvador. The other guy's name is Salvador.
I'll tell you what
wordplay.
I know, and that's CJ Vergara is a total badass. And I like betting on badass dudes who are going to fight for my money. Go in there, never say die until you hear the 15-minute mark of the entire fight. Just keeps on going, finds ways to win, even when he's outmatched against, young prospects that the UFC are matching up against him. Not to make him look good. He still find a way to make things interesting. I think that he is even just technically the better fighter going into this matchup. I like my boy here, CJ Vergara. Let's get him on the show. I think he'd be a good guest.
You know who I think would be a better guest? Basil Hafez, the Habibi. I think he would be the most amazing guest. Philly guy. Was there the day I got my blue belt in jiu-jitsu.
Did he congratulate you?
Yeah, he shook my hand. He fucked me up. Dan, if you knew anything about jiu-jitsu, you would know that every time you get a belt upgrade, they have all the other higher belts in the town come over, fuck you up real quick. You're through 2 hours of a beating, and then you get your belt. And you're in there red-faced, panting like a dog on a leash.
What was the most valuable lesson that he taught you in jiu-jitsu?
Who, Basil?
Yeah, like a move or a position or a concept.
That I ain't cut out. For any MMA work. He came in there, and I was a young buck, 20 years old, a white belt, about to get my blue belt, and then this guy who's fighting MMA professionally and LFA, etc., is absolutely demolishing me in every sense. And I'm just like, oh man, he's definitely better at striking than me if all I do all day is jiu-jitsu. So I'm absolutely fucked in every sense of the realm. And it got me out of competitive fighting. Thanks, Dan. Thanks for bringing up the darkest time of my life. But I'm just kidding. But in terms of Salvador and CJ Vergara, as much as I'd like to take CJ Vergara, Victor Altamirano isn't that much of a competition, where CJ Vergara has had Ode Osborne and Tatsuro Taira in his UFC career. Those are his only 2 losses. I'm going to go with CJ Vergara on this one.
I want to go with CJ Vergara because I want to reward good behavior. The last fight against Daniel Lacerda, I had CJ Vergara parlayed as an underdog, I believe, and he ended up coming back and winning in the second round by KO after losing the first round really, really, really bad. So, I want to reward that good behavior, but at the end of the day, all that I kind of can reflect on is how bad he took damage 3 months ago. He's 32 years old. This kid's coming in 27. Heba's family, yeah, that's not great. And yeah, I mean, the contender series win against Shannon Ross. It's like, in hindsight, everybody kind of knocks out Shannon Ross. He's got a lot of knockout losses. Let's see, how many knockout losses does he have? He's got 4 knockout losses. But it's like, I guess I'm going to go with CJ Vergara to support you guys. Because this guy, yeah, I'll go with Vergara, but I'm a little bit worried just about the damage he took in that last one, and this kid coming off like a contender series win, and he gets that first loss out of the way. I think we see a better version of him than we did in his last fight. And yeah, no, I'm sorry guys, I got to go Salvador. Sorry, I think that Salvador is going to win. It's not going to make sense, but I got to not reward good behavior, which I love to do. But.
I agree. Dan, are you going to have CJ Vergara on a lot of your parlays?
Let's go half.
Half of them.
Yeah.
And that's 1 out of the 2 parlays Dan puts out every week, so that's pretty significant.
Hey man, Once I get my bankroll going, we're gonna get more than 2 parlays going per week. That's all I'm saying.
Well, as soon as you open my fucking wedding gift, you'll realize you have a lot more money than you think, brother.
Look at that. Look at that.
So, all right. Next, let's get into it. We got
Definitely more than Luke gave you, for sure.
All right. So, Michael Chiesa versus Kevin Holland. Alex, what do you think on this one? I mean, you guys heard my opinion about Kevin Holland earlier. I think he should be investigated. I don't know why he quit on his stool against Wonder Boy. I don't know what reason he would have had, unless maybe Travis Luter had to fucking pay off the mortgage at Luter MMA, and they needed that fight to end in a very specific round. I don't know. I'm not throwing accusations out. I'm just saying, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. But overall, look into it. Let's investigate, because we're looking into Krause, and we fired Max Verstappen, but Kevin Holland can quit on his stool against Wonder Boy with a broken hand, and everybody just moves on. He fights Santiago Ponzinibbio, knocks him out. He's a hero again. Like we all just throw that.
So do you want my opinion, or are you going to keep talking? Because you asked for it, like just
I'm sorry.
10
I want
seconds
a
ago.
little tangent there. I get
He's asking for it.
How guys, you don't know, I had a big, massive bet on Kevin Holland to win against Wonder Boy. Obviously, much like
So Luke's going to keep going on after he asked for my opinion,
Right,
but keep going.
Sorry.
No, keep going, please.
Well, you gotta always assume.
No, tell them. Put the ski mask
I
on.
just did.
Put the ski mask on.
I
Put the
just
ski
did. There was
mask on.
a big bet on Kevin Holland against Wonder Boy. Basically, it was the same time gambling became legal in Maryland. I used all the deposit bonuses and all the referral bonuses and all of the free bets that I was given in the process of signing up for multiple different sports books in the state of Maryland when it became legal. And I put it all on Kevin Holland in one massive underdog play, pick 'em play. It was like plus 100 or something like that. And lost all of the money. So Kevin Holland cost me quite a bit of money by retiring on his stool in round 4, and I am just questioning why he did that when Wonder Boy also had a broken hand and has gray hair in his head. So I will not be picking Kevin Holland, even though I'm not a big fan of Michael Chiesa either. He's a desk jockey. He sits at the desk. He's like a cop that ran over somebody while on patrol, while drinking his coffee and reading the newspaper. He's put on the desk. That's where he belongs, on the desk. So he, like you said, Alex, like when you fought Basil Hafez at
I didn't fight him.
or when you did jiu-jitsu against Basil Hafez and he whooped your ass. Sits at the desk, does commentary. You said, you realized that in there, I ain't cut out for this. Chiesa, with all the injuries and all the sitting out on the sidelines, he probably needs to have that same realization. Probably going to get knocked out by Kevin Holland here. So I'll pick Kevin Holland, even though I can't stand him, and he really screwed me big time, by quitting on his stool in the 4th round of the fight against Wonder Boy, who has gray hair.
Just to set the record straight, Basil Hafez can beat the shit out of me at any time. I don't know what the fuck.
I said when you fight, I meant when you grappled against, like when you
I've never fought him, and if he did fight me, it would be a lot quicker.
I don't think you need to clarify it.
Than he did in jiu-jitsu. I respect Basil a whole bunch, and Basil, Luke, actually. Basil, I respect him a ton, and I love him, and he should have won that fight, and he's going to win the next one. Michael Chiesa versus Kevin Holland. You got to look at this type of deal and think about Michael Chiesa, a guy, he's in, Alaska, Washington, pretty much the same fucking thing to me. Not a lot going on there. He's out of Seattle with Terrence McKinney. What did Terrence McKinney do? He tucked tail, ran to Fortis MMA or wherever the hell Kevin Holland's fighting. So Kevin Holland has a lot more intel on Michael Chiesa than Michael Chiesa has on Kevin Holland. And
I didn't know that Kevin Holland and McKinney were training together.
Yes, well, if you ever checked the things I sent you on Instagram, you might realize that, because Terrence McKinney said that Kevin Holland was choking him out while smoking a blunt and like hitting the blunt and choking him out all at once. And that's what made me realize.
Dangerous. The blunt could burn you.
But that's what he was saying. He was saying, Kevin Holland is so good that he's choking me out while smoking a blunt, passing it off, and then finishing the choke. Terrence McKinney said that.
All right, well, let's chill out. Like he got choked out by
I'm quoting people.
It took like 45 seconds to fucking get him out of there with a choke. So like, I mean, yeah, he's how good Tom's out then? How good Tom's out then? I mean,
well, I mean, they're different weight classes.
Maybe if you put the blunt down, you can defend the choke against Tom's out. I don't know. I mean, maybe if you just do the choke instead of the.
Well, that was on very short notice, Luke. That was on very short notice. And at least it's not Sean Brady who leaves a bad taste in our mouth, who we all love, who lost to one-eyed.
How bad does that loss look? That's probably why I'm not going to pick Chiesa here, because Sean Brady lost.
Well, you just picked Chiesa, didn't you?
No, I went back and picked Holland. I said that I'm picking Holland, even though I don't like him anymore because he quit in round 4 against Wonderboy. But I'm on the stool. But I'm gonna pick him. I mean, I think he knocks Chiesa out because Chiesa's a desk jockey, and he is probably asking McKinney for advice on what they're up to down there. And Kevin Holland probably is up to no good, but it's not going to matter because he's an athlete, he's a star, he's a fucking fighter, and Chiesa's a desk jockey and a nerd who gets beat up in a striking battle against Sean Brady, who's a jiu-jitsu guy. You know what I mean? Think about these things, and then you realize, oh, he's going to get knocked the fuck out by Kevin Holland.
And gets choked so bad that the ref has to stop it. Nobody in the world has ever had the ref have to stop a rear naked choke. But Michael Chiesa is blicking and gagging so much, like he's a porn star. Like he's a porn star. He's licking and gagging more than a porn star. He gets choked so bad, somebody has to pull the guy who's choking him so bad off, which is Kevin Lee, who is not good. Who is not good at all. Kevin Holland is absolutely destroying Michael Chiesa.
I think Dan came to that realization, yeah.
All right, but cut that part out, and then, okay, now let's just roll to Dan, and I'll just say I pick Kevin Holland.
I was big time on the Chiesa train. Similar to the Thompson fight. I'm switching over, though, as of the last couple of days here. I have come to these exact same realizations that you have brought up, Alex, about Chiesa and his past losses. I come to think of it, it's like Holland is definitely improving with the wrestling. The jiu-jitsu's there. Force a scramble, get back to the feet. From the feet, it's an easy Holland win, easy to see. So listen, 2 out of 3 goes to Holland. The jiu-jitsu and the striking, that's enough for me. Plus, I don't want to bet on a bad fighter, which is Chiesa. So,
and
Dan, to Holland.
And Dan, his good jiu-jitsu, does it come from good wrestling or what? Like, Kevin Lee out-wrestled you. Kevin freaking Lee.
Lukey out-grappled you. It's like he had Lukey in check, and then Lukey completely reversed him, choked his ass out to sleep. And then it's like, if your grappling's that good, why didn't you take Sean Brady down and instead got beat up on the feet by him for 3 rounds? So it's like, yes, it's one of those guys.
Anthony Pettis tapped him out.
He's
Anthony Pettis.
He's a jack of all trades, master of none. He's literally like Alex Hernandez in a different weight class. You know what I mean? He's like Alex Hernandez, but he can talk a good game, so people think he's better than he is. Like, you know what I mean? He's kind of like Anthony Smith, Alex Hernandez, like that kind of realm.
And Luke, look at Michael Chiesa's last 4 wins. Neil Magny, who matters, of course, but Rafael dos Anjos, Diego Sanchez, and Carlos Condit. How many of those guys are still fighting? Yeah, Diego Sanchez might be doing bare knuckle, but Carlos Condit, he retired. Rafael dos Anjos, he might be fighting still, but he's not on the same level he was in 2013, 2015, that he is in 2020.
Alrighty, yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. We're all going with Kevin Holland because, I mean, when's the last time Chiesa even fought?
Oh my gosh! As soon as I
a year and 7 months ago, he's got 2 fights in 2 years. I mean, and they were both losses. So, meanwhile, Kevin Holland, he's probably fought. Okay, this will be fun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold on. Kevin Holland has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's got 10 fights in the time that it took Chiesa to put up 2. Okay. That tells you everything you need to know. Not to mention he's 5 years younger than Chiesa, and he has a 6-inch reach advantage and 2 inches of height. Kevin Holland's going to butcher Michael Chiesa. Next, we got Bobby King. Actually, he's going by the moniker King, much like Prince. So it's not going to probably happen while he's in the UFC because you got to. I mean, Dan, you probably know this. You're probably getting names changed because you just got married. It's a very lengthy and arduous and annoying process to change your name in this country. So Bobby King Green changing his name to King. We'll call him King. That's what he's asked. Wow. When you look at Tony's record, that's something you don't see all the time, guys, which is just a sea of red. L, 5 losses on the Tapology page in a row, but not just, just 5 in a row. Just 5 in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 in a row. Hasn't won a fight since he looked really great back in 2019 against Cowboy Cerrone in round 2 when he punched him in the nose and Cowboy's eye puffed up. And back then, he was just breaking guys. You finished Lando Fanata, finished Kevin Lee, and then made Pettis and Cerrone essentially quit on their stools. Doctor stoppages, corner stoppages, just from damage, just from making them honestly scared to even come back out. And then all of a sudden he gets in there with Justin Gaethje and things just start to go downhill. But it wasn't really till the Michael Johnson knockout loss that I think it started to look like, damn, like Tony, you can't be getting in there and getting brutal.
He didn't get knocked out by Michael Chandler.
The Michael Chandler front kick to the face. It's like, okay, I can accept a loss to Charles Oliveira, the champ, who gets you in a submission and you fight out of it, and you're not getting mental damage from that fight. Beneil Dariush takes you down, wrestles you, takes you back, all good. Michael Chandler, you were winning that fight. He was winning that fight. He put Chandler in a great position against the fence, was punching him, doing well, and then all of a sudden gets front kicked in the face out of nowhere. But it's just like at Tony's age, that kind of thing is going to have a lot of cascading impacts that I feel like Bobby Green doesn't have. And I think it's just going to be a beat down. Bobby Green's going to beat Tony down bad. What do you guys think?
I agree with you here. Pretty sure we're going to have a Triple P certified pick on this one, unless Alex is just hearkening back to his fanboy days of Tony Ferguson pre-pandemic. I think one of the bigger points that you brought up, Luke, is Tony Ferguson's ability to break dudes. Bobby Green is not going to get broken. Bobby Green might have won this fight in Tony Ferguson's prime, just based off of that alone. Now you get a completely diminished Tony Ferguson against Bobby Green, who's still showing some pop in his shots. I think this is an easy Bobby Green play. I'm not going to think too much harder on this one.
Well, maybe you guys should think a little harder. Okay? Maybe you guys should think just a tad farther, because Bobby Green is just a couple months short of being this 37 years old.
Oh, yeah.
His birthday is in September, which we remember one date in September, which is the 11th. His birthday is the 9th. 9/9, what Hitler once said. 1986.
Not say that on the show.
Hitler had to have said
Don't
no.
say the H word on the show. It will get us kicked off YouTube. Stop.
All right. Well, hell.
Don't say that either. Don't cuss on the show. Don't say anything on the show. Actually, just get off the show. You're bottom now. YouTube, I'm sorry, YouTube. Susan, I'm sorry. He's on the bottom now. It's entertainment only. Sorry, Susan. He's on the bottom. Bad, Alex. Go, Alex.
Can I go now?
Just get to your point. You're going to pick Tony Ferguson at 39 years old?
I'm taking Tony Ferguson. Look at that.
Tony Ferguson coming off 5 finished losses, including – sorry. Tony Ferguson.
No, not 5 finished losses. 3 out of 5.
5 losses, back-to-back finished losses. Tony Ferguson coming in. Alex is going to take him against Bobby Green, who just smoked Jared Gordon and also looked really great against Drew Dober before getting caught, by what Drew Dober does. So, yeah, all right, Alex, go ahead. But why, though? Why do you think Tony Ferguson's going to win? Because he's not.
Okay, so let me fucking talk, loser.
Listen, it can't always be, like, I say this and then you have to, like, throw a bitch fit. Like, you have to just talk. You know what I mean? Like, just for the sake of the show. We're 2 hours in at this point. We got a lot more work to do. So, let's just get to it.
Okay.
Please go. Please just tell us why Tony Ferguson's going to win.
Tony Ferguson, his losses: Justin Gaethje fought for the title. Charles Oliveira held the title. Beneil Dariush was just in the title eliminator against Charles Oliveira. Michael Chandler fought for the title. Nate Diaz fought for the title at one point or another and is one of the biggest names in the whole game, and that was a short notice replacement. So I'm going with Tony Ferguson. I know it's not the sexiest pick on the entire card. I think this is a very
He's
good.
going to be plus 1,200 odds. It'll be a very sexy pick.
Okay.
He's going to be plus 1,200, plus 1,500 odds in this fight.
Beautiful. Even better. Even better. I'm going to put a solo bet on Tony Ferguson because I think Bobby Green does a little bit too much hot dogging, does a little bit too much running around the cage, and Tony Ferguson is going to ankle pick him. Tony Ferguson is going to take him to the ground. He is not someone who has better jiu-jitsu than Tony Ferguson, 10th planet black belt. Tony Ferguson is going to go out there. The athlete he is, he could play in the MLB. Let's not forget that. The Dodgers were looking at him for a little bit. The Dodgers were looking at him. He is a 3-sport athlete. Football, wrestling, baseball. True American man. Tony Ferguson is going to go out there and destroy Bobby Green. Bobby Green is not on the level of Tony Ferguson, and Drew Dober isn't either. Drew Dober wouldn't knock out Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson is the boogeyman. He's coming, and Bobby Green is just as old as him.
So this next fight, Paulo Costa versus Ikram Aliskerov, we're going to save for next week just because if it's not happening, I don't want to waste our breath on it this week. So
Is it not happening?
That's what I hear.
It's not on DraftKings anymore.
Still
All right, well, let's all
Wait,
just
no,
take a
I see
pick.
it now. I see it now. Sorry.
Paulo Costa for me.
Paulo Costa, Chad Juice activated for sure.
Dan?
Yeah, Paulo Costa. Gotta see more out of Vikram.
Okay, Jan Blachowicz versus
Like
Alex
A Bus.
Pereira.
It's just like A Bus versus Sean Strickland.
Yeah, guys, I think that fight's off though because they haven't even updated Tapology to include that the Jan fight versus Pereira is for the championship. So
Is it really?
I believe it is. I believe it
Oh
is.
my gosh. I think you saw the same thing that I saw, which was a tweet by somebody once.
I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything like that. is
Now that
official.
I'm thinking about it, you sent me the same Instagram post, which was McGregor fan saying that this should be for the title, and then Izzy will fight Pereira for the
Well, it kind
dual
of does
champ.
change things whether or not this is 3 rounds or 5 rounds, right? I mean, Pereira went 5 rounds with Izzy in that first match, right? Where it was the 5th round that it ended. Yeah, it was the 5th round. So he's he's coming off that knockout loss 2 months ago. I don't care who you are. You going in there with Polish power, coming off a knockout loss 2 months ago. No spring chicken yourself, coming up in weight. Something tells me that Jan's going to bring a lot of tools to this fight. He's going to bring wrestling. He's going to
3
bring
months
striking.
ago. 3
I
months.
think if it's 3 rounds, I give the edge to Jan. But I think if it's 5 rounds, I give the edge to Pereira. Because I think Pereira can pull off a knockout at any moment as long as he can stay alive. The only thing is, if Jan can do to Pereira if Jan can do to Pereira what Pereira did to Izzy, knowing Jan, if Jan can do to Pereira what Izzy did to Pereira, knowing Jan did that to Izzy, did I get that right? Because Jan grapple fucked Izzy and Izzy grapple fucked Pereira, one would estimate that Jan could grapple fuck Pereira and hit him with those Polish hammers and beat him by a TKO due to ground and pound on the ground. Now, Jan also could get a little too fucking cocksure on the feet and get knocked the fuck out because Pereira can knock anybody out. So that's what I'm worried about. It's how Jan approaches the fight, how many rounds is the fight, and is Jan going in there with the sound game plan of a 40-fight vet to say, hey, this is my 40th fucking fight. This is his 10th fucking fight. So since I have 4 times the experience and he's only 4 years younger than me and he's coming up into my weight class that I've been a champion at, let me just actually now do the GSP thing we talked about at the beginning of the show and take the path of least resistance, take your ass down like Izzy did in that 1 round, or just, touch that chin like Izzy did in that 1 round, right? Just do what Izzy did, Jan, and I think you can get this one done even though you're 40. I'm taking Jan Blachowicz to stand his ground at light heavyweight.
Dan, go ahead.
Oh man, this is one of the tougher fights for me to break down on the night. I think that Pereira is getting good enough work as far as the ground game with Glover and all that to be serviceable enough not to get submitted. If this thing is going to go actually 5 rounds, 5 times that he'll be standing up on the feet potentially. Man, I don't know. I kind of don't think that Jan's striking is all that great. I think Pereira, moving up in weight might be beneficial to him. Just a fresher guy who probably isn't going to be super undersized at light heavyweight. I think I got to go Pereira here. Got to do it. I also remember in the fight with Rakic before the freak injury, Rakic was not putting in work, but he was, probably not doing as well as Pereira could do with striking. So I like Pereira, but it's a tough one. It's a tough call.
I'm taking Pereira. I think this is easy. I think this is a revenge map for their camp. Glover got choked out by Jan Blachowicz at one point. Jan knows all the intricacies of what Jan is going to do.
Jan got choked out by Glover.
Oh.
What are you thinking?
Reverse. You guys have been on a lot of weddings. You know that song. I think that Alex Pereira finishes Jan Blachowicz.
Yeah, that alone actually will give Pereira a lot of confidence going into this with Glover behind him in the hotel going, dude, I fucking choked this guy out.
And he just strangled...
Like, Glover wouldn't say that because he's a good coach.
He just strangled Glover in a pond. He just pushed Glover's head into a pond. He's thinking about doing the elbows. He's not doing it because it's his pal. He made Glover tap out into a babbling brook. Did you see that video, Luke?
I didn't.
Okay,
I
so
heard what you just said. So
he
held.
held
I heard what you just said.
with his forearm.
Yep.
Held
I
it
can
into a babbling brook.
You said
Glover tapped. All he's thinking in that moment is elbow, elbow, elbow. He's not going to do that to his pal, his compatriot. Just like I would never do that to Glover Teixeira because he is my best friend ever. Luke, pull up the picture. I'm going with Alex Pereira here. He's going to finish Jan. And Luke, I honestly disagree with you. I think if it's 5 rounds, that favors Blachowicz more than it does Pereira. I think Pereira finishes him within 3, but if it's a 5-round bout, it might be a little bit more complicated than that.
I truly am interested to see this fight because I respect both and their skill level, and I really don't know what's going to happen because it could go so many different ways depending on if Jan decides to stand with him. It could go a number of different ways. I agree with you. I think if Jan stands with him, I give the advantage to Pereira. I see him being able to actually connect, and I think that a guy like Pereira shakes off a knockout loss like the one he just had and goes, I don't really give a fuck, and just moves on and just kind of alpha males through it. Already faced a lot of hardship in his life.
He's not getting knocked out for sure because now he's at a higher weight. If he ain't getting knocked out.
If he knocked him out, come on.
But now he's going up in weight when this guy, we knew he was like 216 pounds before the fight with Izzy. We knew this was a big-ass motherfucker who is cutting a lot of weight. Yes, a lot more water in the head to pad those hits. I don't think Jan Blachowicz knocks him out. I think a 5-round fight favors Jan Blachowicz, where a 3-round fight favors Pereira, because I think that he could rock him in 2 rounds easily, where Jan thinks his legendary Polish power, where he's hitting snowmen over, is going to affect somebody like Alex Pereira.
All right, well, let's move on. I mean, I disagree. I think Jan's going to win. It's going to be a close fight. I think there's areas like I said, I don't really know what's going to happen. I think there's areas where both can have successful outcomes. It's going to be just one of those fights. I'm more interested in watching than betting, to be honest with you guys. So, want to get into this next fight. Justin Gaethje, the main event, the BMF title is on the line. And despite how you might feel about the BMF title, I personally, we went over it on the show already. We talked about how Justin Gaethje is a hypocrite because he talks shit about something until it's given to him, and then and then all of a sudden it's cool, But Gaethje, super annoying. Obviously, I talk about him all the time. Goes in there against Khabib, death before dishonor tattooed on his rib cage, literally with his parents in the front row, taps out, gets choked out, and Khabib drags his nuts across his face as he gets up. It was the most humiliating teabag I've ever seen. He said he was going in there to fight and wrestle for America. He did neither. He threw 4 leg kicks and then quit. It was despicable, and I know he feels bad about it, so I'm not going to harp on it anymore. If he can if Justin Gaethje can defeat Dirty Dustin and win me $2,000, I will never ever talk about Khabib dragging those Dagestani balls across his face while his parents looked on as he was choked unconscious after he literally quit. even though his tattoo says death before dishonor, he dishonored everybody before dying, which is just the opposite of what you want. You know what I mean? If you're going to go out, don't tap. To tap and then go out, bad look. Same exact thing happens with Oliveira pretty much, except it was Brazilian nuts instead of Dagestani nuts. Then he goes in there against Fiziev, and it looks like Superman took the glasses off. It's like, holy shit, you're in a striking battle against the most respected striker in the UFC, and you're backing him up and bitching him, just completely like barking him down, like completely just actually alphaing Fiziev in a striking battle. Really great stuff. Decision majority. I just pulled up the scorecards here. I got to see what's going on with these scorecards because
here
it says, hold on, I got them right here. Final scorecards read 29-28, 29-28, and 28-28, with the judge Paul Sutherland giving the first 2 rounds to Fiziev, but then scoring 3 for Gaethje as a 10-8. So that led to a majority decision. So no judge scored it for Fiziev. Only one judge had it a draw. But we all watched the fight. It was no draw. He beat the shit out of Fiziev. Could have been a draw, I guess, but I think he bludgeons and batters a slower and less sophisticated striker in Poirier. I think that the only way this could go awry is if we get into some sort of everybody wins fan brawl situation where the judges throw a split at Dustin or something like that. But I would really prefer to see Justin Gaethje just win this fight in typical Trevor Whitman game plan-esque fashion. If you know from earlier in the show, I have a $335 bet that was the parlay from Just Because Duplessis and Justin Gaethje rearranged to now be Pereira and Gaethje, 335 to win about 2,000, 1996. So going to be great if we can get Pereira and Gaethje to win. I will have disposed of 3 enemies and won over $3,000, 33 vertebrae in your spine, 33 years in Christ's life, and 3 enemies that I'll be disposing of during the witching hour of the harvest season that is summertime. Going to get rid of Rob Whittaker, Stephen Wonderboy, and Dustin Poirier. All 3, one fell swoop, win a ton of money doing it, win back all the losses. Let's do it for the boys, guys. Let's do it for the boys. Pereira, Gaethje. Who else did I say? Oh, Duplessis. He already got it done, though. Already got it done. Duplessis is my boy. So we need Pereira and Gaethje to go in there and get it done, and we'll be cruising. We'll be cruising through harvest season. It's the witching hour. Hee. Dustin Poirier. Justin Gaethje's gonna knock you out. No, I don't know. I mean, you know, I've tried to fade Dustin Poirier many times. Hooker comes to mind, and he gave me what for? And then I tried to fade him against McGregor twice, and you know, he broke McGregor in half and knocked him out. And you know, all those times Poirier has
Michael Chandler. You take him against Charles Oliveira.
No, I never took him against Oliveira. Of course not. But you know, so here. You go back, you watch that first Dustin versus Justin fight. It means nothing now. Both these guys are millionaires. Both these guys, but you got to ask who's more of one, and it's Poirier. Who's going on more podcasts? Poirier. Who's still bitter and kind of angry and is just a grungy guy? Justin. So that's who's going to win.
Dan?
I could agree with that. I just think that the fact that there's probably not going to be the threat of grappling in this one, a la Khabib and Charles. Obviously, Gaethje's last 2 losses is going to bode very well for him. I think that he's fighting more in a way that obviously it's always going to be fan friendly, but just a little bit more calculated. He's going to find that sweet spot of violent yet calculated, which I think will overthrow Dustin Poirier late in this age with all the success that he's had, you know, sleeping on silk sheets and all that good stuff. I don't think he's going to be able to match the fire that Gaethje's going to bring into this one. Good power, good speed. Gaethje still got it. Gaethje for the win.
Yeah, I'm going to take Gaethje here. He's been sleeping in a lot less of silk sheets than Dustin Poirier has. Dustin Poirier's been making a fuck ton of money just based off of beating Conor McGregor twice. And
hot sauce,
and he's trying to fight people in parades. And I'm not going to say what type of parades, folks. You can make your own decisions. But I'm going to go with Justin Gaethje here. Although the latter rounds favored Dustin in the first fight, I don't think that's necessarily going to have the same impact on this fight. I think that Justin Gaethje has been fighting with a lot more gusto, a lot more discipline, a lot more of a smarter fight. And Justin isn't going to fall into a submission like he did against Khabib. He is going to put the pressure on Dustin the entire time. And I'm hoping he fights with the same discipline he fought with against Tony Ferguson, Rafael Fiziev. He doesn't get brought into these battles that he has against Michael Chandler.
No, but he didn't even really get drawn into that much of a battle with Chandler. Only that first round. Then he kind of put it to bed and fought very smart in that fight. It was kind of controlled chaos. And I know what you mean, though. It's like he every other fight in his last 5, he has lost. Like he won against Ferguson, lost against Khabib, won against Chandler, lost against Oliveira, won against Fiziev. It's just going to be lost against Poirier, and it's by submission too, right? He wins these kind of decision-esque, long, drawn-out, chaotic, like controlled beatdowns against Ferguson, Chandler, Fiziev. Then in between, loses by submission, finds a way out, mental lapse, wants out, escapes. It's almost like his, 28 fights in, he can only either fight blood and guts wars, which his body like preserves him against by getting choked out. Instead of like Chuck Liddell just going to sleep, getting knocked out by punches that normally wouldn't have put you out. It's like his body's just like, fall into the choke. Like, come on, we got to get out of here, man. Like, don't be the highlight this time. It's like, I don't know. But I just think that the one thing that scares me about Poirier is that his fight with Hooker was around the same time as Gaethje's fight with Ferguson. And Hooker, I think, is probably a much more competent opponent, especially at the time, than Ferguson was. But then again, it's 3 years ago, and that was the first loss for Ferguson. So we got to remember that. It's not the Ferguson like we've seen after 5 losses. It's the first one of those 5. So try to remember that. I think Gaethje at underdog odds is a trap line. He's taller. I think he's the better wrestler if it goes there, and just overall better striker, gets the win. Trevor Whitman in his corner, can't lose, can't be stopped. We got it. The highlight to the top. Let's go underdog odds on Justin Gaethje in the main event.
And MMA math points to Justin Gaethje. He has beaten Michael Johnson by finish, and Dustin Poirier has been finished by Michael Johnson.
Right, but I mean, if you go the direct MMA math, he lost to Dustin Poirier, so he got finished in round 4.
Very true, very true.
So I think that doesn't happen again though, because that was a man doesn't enter the same river twice. He's not the same man. That's not the same river. That was 5 years ago,
and he hasn't been. He's been a lot more of a smart fighter since that finish by Dustin Gaethje.
Yeah.
Or Dustin Poirier. Sorry.
This is a makeup game. Let's get it right this time, Justin. All right, let's go through our full card picks, and then we'll go through UFC London one more time on the Patreon. If you guys want to keep listening, keep chatting it up with us, get over to the Patreon. We're going to break down UFC London with a fine-tooth comb yet again, real quick, for you guys on the Patreon. Chat a little bit more. All the money from the Patreon this week, this month, July, goes to Dan as a wedding present. So if you're a monthly member, get in there for the full year at a discount. Or if you're not in there yet, hop in for the month, hop in for the year. But all the money, if you're a Dan fan, goes to support your boy, Lieutenant Dan, on the show. The
Patreon is the war room. That is where we keep all of our closest friends. And that is where anybody who wants to make money comes. Where
no guarantees, not financial advice, not financial.
Whereas the Discord, yes, that is Hustlers University. And we keep some people in there. And yes, they can make some money from Hustlers University. But if you want to 10x that, you need to join the War Room. You need to come into the Patreon, patreon.com/perfect parlay pursuit.
Thank you guys very much for joining the show. Let's take everybody through our full picks. Obviously, Alex was just kidding. Entertainment purposes only. No financial advice given on the show, but here are my picks for UFC 291. This is what I think is going to happen. If you go with me, you're going from bottom to top. Miranda Maverick, Matt Semlsberger, Jake Matthews, Roman Kopylov, Trevin Giles, Marcos Rogerio de Lima, Michelle Pereira, most confident pick of the card, most confident pick of my life, lock of the century, lock of the evening, lock it up, unlock the safe, and dump all the money on Michelle Pereira for entertainment purposes only. 1-800 Gambler. Do not actually bet any money on anything ever because it's haram. Michelle Pereira, the mortgage lock of the century. Salvador, Vinicius, Salvador. I would say Vinicius, Salvador, and Roman Kopylov and Trevin Giles are my 3 least confident picks at this point. Kevin Holland, uber confident in him at this point, but we know how that goes. He quit on his stool against Kevin.
You already told them all this, Luke. Keep going through your picks.
We got King against Tony Ferguson. We got Paulo Costa if the fight happens. Jan Blachowicz and Justin the Highlight Gaethje. Thank you all, Alex, Dan.
Dan, I'm going to take this one. I'm taking Gaethje, Pereira, Paulo Costa, Tony Ferguson, Kevin Holland, CJ Vergara, Michelle Pereira, Derek Lewis, Gabriel Bonfim, Claudio Ribeiro, Jake Matthews, Matthew Semlsberger, and Miranda Top Gun Maverick.
All right, rolling with me, you got Justin Gaethje, Alex Pereira, Paulo Costa, if it happens. We got Bobby Green, Kevin Holland, CJ Vergara, Michelle Pereira, Derek Lewis, Gabriel Bonfim, Roman Kopylov, Miguel Baeza, Matthew Semlsberger, and Priscilla Cachoeira.
Before we get into the Trophy Survey picks, I need to remark on how both Alex and Dan pronounced Michelle Pereira and Alex Pereira's last name different, even though they're spelled the exact same.
They're from different parts of the country.
What is this?
Like
A
Alex
fucking
Pereira,
spelling bee?
Michelle Pereira. Okay. Trophy Survey picks. Honestly, I really love these guys. We got 5, possibly 4 if the Costa fight drops, but we got Justin Gaethje, Paulo Costa, Kevin Holland, Michelle Pereira, and Matt Semlsberger. Super confident in those ones, guys. Let's get over to the Patreon and run through UFC London just one more time. Thank you all for joining us, and we will see you over on the Patreon.